Hey, it's Jay, and welcome back to Here's the Kingdom. Today, we're going to be taking a look through the Hyrule Compendium. Now, just like Breath of the Wild, I wanted to do a series of streams where I would go back and look at back at the things from the game now that I've completed it, give my thoughts on some shit. And originally, I wanted to do these streams in the same order that I did for Breath of the Wild, but the hero's journey for Breath of the Wild took 3 hours to get through on live stream, and the Tears of the Kingdom one is probably going to be even longer, and I don't have time to do that right now, and it's going to be a while before I have time to do that, and so I figure that I'll do some of the other ones instead to just kind of get them out of the way. But we're going to start with the Hyrule Compendium, which I was looking back, and apparently it actually took me 2 streams to get through the Hyrule Compendium. I think mainly because I was doing them after work, you know. But yeah, we're just gonna read through all these entries. Maybe I'll give some thoughts here and there on some of the creatures and whatnot. But we have a lot to go through. So first up is horse. These can most often be found on plains. Their usefulness as transportation has made them valuable since ancient times. That said, wild horses do tend to get spooked and run off when approached. So if you're looking to snag one, it's best to sneak up on. I just fucking told him that I was going to record, and he's talking up a storm in there. If you're looking to snag one, it's best to sneak up on it. Giant horse. This giant horse is the last of its kind. Its physical capabilities completely overshadow those of regular horses, but its temperament is extremely wild. Only a truly skilled rider can train, or even catch, this beast of a mount. This is a horse that chooses its rider. White horse. Is that the same stable? Nah, I took a picture of him when we got our horses back, I think, is when I got that one. The white horse. The Hyrulean royal family that perished over 100 years ago would sometimes ride atop white horses as a display of their divine right. This white horse may be a descendant of one once ridden by royalty. The giant white stallion. This massive animal is thought to share its lineage with the white horses ridden by Hylian royalty. Called a giant white stallion due to its color and enormous size. This horse is believed to have been the result of a sudden mutation. There are many travelers and researchers keen to seek out this extraordinary creature. The golden horse. An extremely rare horse with a golden coat, said to appear only once every 100 years. This horse's exquisite appearance belies a rugged constitution that makes it adaptable to harsh environments, highly alert, and picky about who may ride it. Few riders could ever hope to tame this horse. The stall horse. A skeletal horse often ridden by monsters. These animals, which used to be ordinary horses, are said to be revived in areas where there is a high gloom concentration. They can only maintain their forms in darkness, and they have a remarkable ability to run atop gloom, which is like the main thing that you want to use them for. That's why there's so many in the depths, so you can cross the big gloom pools if you don't have a vehicle. Donkey. Oh yeah, well, that was the Sheikah donkey that we just encountered last stream. Yeah, okay. That was the one that was following it around. Smaller than horses, these are raised as livestock in the countryside, so they don't exist in the wild. They're more powerful than they look and specialize in transporting baggage. This has made them popular with traveling merchants. The sand seal. These seals use their large flippers to move through sand as if swimming. They were once wild animals, but have since been domesticated by the Gerudo. They rely on their excellent hearing to find their way while submerged in the sand. Their large, distinct tusks look pretty ferocious, but their favorite food is actually fruit. And Patricia. And this was the weird thing in Breath of the Wild. I can't remember if this was the case in the Breath of the Wild or not, but it is in this game, and so I think it was there, because I remember freaking out about this before. Wild sand seals and regular sand seals are considered the same animal, but Patricia is considered a different animal for some reason. This is Riju's own sand seal. It may look intense, but she dotes on it regularly. The ribbon it wears was a gift from her, and it even has its own pen in Gerudo Town. It's far more agile than any other sand seal, and far more outgoing. An ever-reliable partner to Riju, Patricia is always ready to take off through the desert at a moment's notice. Was she kept with the other ones underground? I can't remember. She must have been. They wouldn't have left her up in the pen with the Gibdos. But it's been so long, I've forgotten. Bushy-tailed squirrel. Not a great shot of that one, sorry. These small creatures are known for their large tails. They tend to live in forests and subsist on acorns and other nuts. They carry their food in their mouths, but will sometimes drop it when surprised in an adorable display of shock. The woodland boar. These medium-sized beasts can be found all throughout Hyrule. You can most often find them foraging for food in forests or meadows. Although usually docile, they won't hesitate to charge you full force if you get too close. Red-tusked boar. These boars are known for their red tusks and black fur. They're similar to your average boars, but are considerably stronger. Extra caution is advised when hunting these. That just occurred to me. A little bit odd. You got the three main dragons and now the light dragon and dark dragon. You got all the dragons that are flying around Hyrule. You have a couple of boars that you meet around the wild, but there's no owls in the wilds of Hyrule. There's Canali or Canal, whatever. There's the Elder of Rito Village, who's like owl themed. But as far as like an and Mineru, she has the owl theming too. But as far as like an actual live owl just existing in nature, that's not in either game. That's actually a little bit weird. That would be an exception. I guess because there'd be no like gameplay purpose for it, and like Nintendo doesn't like to add shit without a gameplay purpose. But like also the sparrows and shit, they don't drop anything if you shoot them or walk near them. Maybe they do drop nuts. But that's why there's no owls. Mountain goat. These herbivores make their home in meadows and rocky areas. Their characteristically strong legs and hooves facilitate easy climbing over rocks. Goats aren't very quick, so they make good targets for beginning hunters. White goat. These goats are raised for their multiple uses. Their milk can be drank or made into butter, and their soft fur is used to make clothes. Domesticated goats wear bells around their necks so they can be easily found after letting out to graze. Mountain buck. These male deer are usually found deep in the forest. They're well known for their huge branching antlers, which they'll swing in self-defense if threatened. Deer are cautious by nature, so it can be tricky to get close, but if you can capture one, you may be able to take it for a ride. And again, another weird thing, the buck and the doe are considered separate animals, but the red and yellow sand seals aren't. Mountain doe. These actually they don't the same meat. Mountain doe. These female deer are often found alongside a male. They're very timid animals by nature, but they tend to let their guard down when eating apples, a favorite food. This tidbit of information can be useful to hunters. Water buffalo. These wild cows come equipped with big, strong horns. They live off grass that grows near the waterfront. Their meat is considered to be high quality, so they're a common target among hunters. Fun fact, the domesticated Hatino cow, often raised in villages, was bred through a selective breeding using these. The Hatino cow. Originating in Hatino village, these cows are kept as livestock, primarily for their milk. Their horns are smaller than a water buffalo's, and they're much more docile, and therefore easier to raise. Their horns are decorated with bright colors when taken out to pasture. And they don't drop any meat because you can't kill the domesticated animals. And so, yeah, truly, truly raised for their milk. Highland sheep. I forgot about these guys. I love the wool covering the eyes. Wool over the eyes. Wake up, Highland sheeple. Originally native to the mountainous regions, these sheep were domesticated for their wool and have since found a home in villages. Once the fluffy wool grows out, it's harvested and used to make clothing and bedding. They're calm, timid creatures and move about in small herds. Grassland fox. This breed of fox is common to grasslands and forests and is hallmarked for its fluffy white-tipped tail. Unlike other foxes, they tend to act independently rather than form packs. Being omnivores, they hunt animals smaller than themselves and often stick to eating fruit and insects. Snowcoat fox. Oh, snowcoat has prime meat too. Or gourmet meat rather. Yeah, prime and gourmet meat. Oh, both of the meats in the snowcoat fox are higher quality. That's a little bit weird actually, because they're basically the same size. This particular breed of grassland fox makes its home in cold climates such as the Tabantha region. Its fur turned white as a means of adapting to snowy weather, serving as a natural camouflage. Because of this, spotting one in the snow takes a keen eye. Murado wolf. These wolves are not only carnivorous, but can also be downright fierce. They're highly aggressive and aren't afraid to attack people as a means of They hunt in groups and surround their prey as a means of bringing it down. That said, if one of their own is injured, the rest are wise enough to run away. They communicate via howls, so if you're wandering in the forest and hear their call, you had best take care. The wasteland coyote. This contentious beast is native to the Gerudo region. It makes its home in the desert, so it does not have a problem with hot, arid climates. They do hunt other beasts and small animals, but more often turn their sights on people. They're a threat to anyone traveling through the deserts. More often turn their sights on people? That would imply that they eat more people than they do wild animals. How is there such a large population of them? when there's like 5 people in each town in this game. I think that there's some embezzlement going on here. I don't think that's true. Cold-footed wolf. This breed of Murado wolf lives in snowy mountainous areas, such as the Hebra Mountains. They travel in packs, similar to their Murado relatives, but are considerably tougher thanks to having adapted to their harsh environment. They're made even more dangerous by their white fur, which provides a natural camouflage in the snow. They all drop the same meat, though, even though the coyote's smaller and these guys are apparently more dangerous? ? Tabantha moose, the largest breed of deer in Hyrule. This mammal's origin was traced back to the Tabantha region. It's easily distinguished by its immense antlers, which these moose shed and regrow yearly. Their meat is tender and high quality, so it works well in a stew. Dun dun! A new species of four-legged beast found in the southern regions. So far, only 5 of these creatures have ever been spotted in Hyrule. Their diet is a mystery, but what is known is that they're easily scared, and their giant horns can be very dangerous. Read that it says the diet is a mystery when literally meeting them and getting close enough to take this picture is revealed to you that they eat luminous stones by the NPC next to them. So their diet really is not that big of a mystery. Honeybore bear. The Dundon's placement is weird. Because apparently there's a message you can get when you sleep that says that it's related to horses from the horse god. So you'd expect to be next to horses. It's got a bit of a horned dinosaurish bulkish body. And so it's okay, no other dinosaurs in the game, but it's kind of like a rhino, so it makes sense next to the woolly rhino. They just specifically called out the moose as being a deer, but it wasn't next to the other deer. You can put the moose next to the deer, and then if this is supposed to be a deer, quote unquote, have it in that region too. But no, it's a little bit weird. Honeybore bear. Oh, they actually can drop honey. That's interesting. This king among animals is dangerous game, even for the most seasoned hunters. They'll attack anyone who wanders into their territory, regardless of the wanderer's weaponry. As their name implies, they have a natural love of honey. Extreme caution is advised when you spot one, but if you're sneaky enough and maybe just a little bit crazy, you may just be able to ride one. Grizzlemaw bear. This breed of honeybore bear is distinguished by its gray fur. Even more ferocious than their relatives, they are commonly believed to be the most dangerous wild animal. They live in deep snow away from villages, so it's uncommon to encounter one. That said, if you do find one, you'd be better off not picking a fight with it. Yeah, grizzly bear more dangerous than the honey bear. And they drop salmon instead of the coarser bee honey, which I guess is technically better from a heart healing perspective, but I don't know how common the hardy salmon actually are. I feel like they're easier to get than honey, but maybe I'm just talking out of my ass there. Hylian retriever. The native breed of this mammal varies by region, but one thing remains true. This animal has been known as man's best friend since ancient times. They're very clever and obedient, so aside from serving as pets, they're also put to work watching over grazing livestock. It's said that all Hylian retrievers are descendants of the dog once owned by the king of Hyrule. I'm going to throw this out there, bit of a weird complaint, but in the first game, I was super pissed that you could not pet the dogs. I was really mad that you could not pet the dogs. Apparently, the developers went on record at some point saying that at one point they considered adding the ability to pet dogs, but decided it was such a minor thing and so out there that maybe no one would want it or need it, and so it wasn't worth implementing. Then they saw the feedback of people wanting them to add in petting dogs, and they started to reconsider, oh, maybe we should add in the ability to pet dogs. Fast forward 6 fucking years, and we finally get the sequel, and you still can't pet the damn dogs! Nintendo, you can't keep leading us on like this, Nintendo. You can't keep that up. Bloopy. Recoverable materials unknown. That's interesting. Usually says none. Does it say unknown? Yeah, it says none for these guys too, even though they poop gems. But the Bloopy's drops are unknown. They drop rupees. That's also something you discover pretty, quickly. Common locations unknown. Okay, fair enough. Don't want to spoil Satori Mountain and the Blurry Bupo. That makes sense. But they drop rupees. That's their whole deal. They may look like mere rabbits at a fleeting glance, but these strange creatures aptly named creatures glow with a mysterious blue light. While the details of their origins are entirely unknown, there is one thing we do know: these peculiar little things have a penchant for collecting rupees. It even calls out rupees in the description. Recoverable materials unknown bullshit. The bullfrog. These mysterious creatures dwell in caves all around the world. They like to stay hidden and will spew bubbles when threatened. When overcome, they will disappear and leave behind mysterious objects. Bubble gem. And it's willing to call it what they drop. That's weird. Common locations unknown. It's caves. But fair enough. I'll give them that one. Unknown, sure. Common sparrow. Oh, they do drop nuts. Okay. As the name suggests, these birds are rather common around Hyrule. They mainly live in plains or forests, but sometimes venture out to villages. Their diet consists of nuts and small insects. They look pretty cute when they jump around, but they don't have much love for people. Red sparrow. These small birds live in the Hebra region and eat mainly nuts and wild plants. Their bright red feathers are often used as decorations. Blue sparrow, flying away. How majestic. It's like the doves flying away at a wedding. There was a wedding here too, so that kind of makes sense. This breed of sparrow is most often seen in the Lanara region. They get most of their food from leaves and plants that grow near water. If it's safe enough, they can be spotted bathing in puddles or shallow. If safe enough, they can be spotted bathing in puddles or shallow rivers. Rainbow sparrow. These small birds hail from the Faron region. As the name suggests, their feathers are more colorful than other sparrows, which has made them a favorite among dilettantes. I don't know. They feed on small rainforest insects, but the omnivore in them loves nuts as well. Sand sparrow. Nice shot of its backside. This bird ass, secret bird ass. This desert-dwelling breed of sparrow has adapted to withstand the heat in the arid climate of the Gerudo region. Sometimes they can be spotted half buried in the sand, holding perfectly still as a means of evading predators. I'm going to call it out again. There was that one bit where I killed the Molduga, and then I started walking away, and there was just a patch of these guys chilling, right next to where I killed the Molduga. And I got my camera to try and take a picture of them, and I put on the stealth suit. I don't know if I put on this. I might not have put on the stealth suit, but I got my camera. I crouched down and started sneaking up to get a picture, and they flew away. So Link crouching's footsteps are less loud and scary than a freaking giant sand whale. God damn it. Golden sparrow. This breed of sparrow is native to the Elden region. Their down is resistant to burning, an evolutionary trait produced by the harsh volcanic environment that doesn't actually set things on fire anymore. They subsist on small insects that hide inside rocks. Wood pigeon. These drop out the actual bird meat. These pigeons inhabit vast regions all throughout Hyrule, so they can often be found in forests, grasslands, or even villages. They don't have a very strong sense of awareness, so even less skilled hunters can nab them pretty easily. Rainbow pigeon, my favorite bird of the game. They're beautiful. I loved, this picture isn't great, but I loved getting the picture of them above the weird mushrooms by Thundra in the first game. Those flocks of them, flying around. It was gorgeous. Maybe it was rainbow sparrows, but I think it was the rainbow pigeons, and it was gorgeous. This breed of pigeon is well known for its vivid feathers. They live mainly in the northern forests and grasslands of Hyrule. They're most fond of nuts and grain, but won't pass up the occasional insect or earthworm if offered. Their meat is of higher quality than a typical wood pigeon's. Hot feather pigeon. Because they're the easy ones to kill. They only drop drumsticks. But these ones are a bit harder to get, so they actually drop the full fly. The hot feather pigeon. This rare breed of pigeon lives near Death Mountain. Their fireproof feathers are valuable as a clothing material. They usually prefer blazing hot environments, but lately they've been spotted flying high in the sky where the air is cooler. White pigeon. This white-feathered breed of pigeon lives in the Hebra region. It's said that a wood pigeon survived atop a snowy mountain by changing its feathers to blend with the snow, and soon after became a white pigeon. They have an extra layer of fat to guard against the cold, so they have been known to yield high-quality meat. And yeah, it does drop the thigh and whole bird, so that's quite nice. Accented pigeon. Oh, are these the new ones? Yeah, Great Sky Island, East Sky Archipelago. Yeah, these are new for the Sky Islands. The original variety of wood pigeon. These small birds were once seen all around Hyrule, but are quite rare these days. Their color often serves as a camouflage. I actually wonder if there's any pigeons in the old Zelda games with this color scheme, and this could be a reference to them, because they say around in the old days, original pigeon. That could be something, but it could just be because everything in the Sky Islands has remained evolutionarily stagnant for 20,000 plus years. Mountain crow. This bird is known for its cleverness and for its distinct claws. They make their homes in mountains, forests, and villages alike. Not only are their jet black feathers seen as an ill omen, but they'll steal the crops right out of a farmer's hands if given the chance. Because of this, they're often met with enmity, whatever. Shout out to corvids, though. Smart birds. Love them. Great birds. Bright-chested duck. These birds can be found on waterfronts all over Hyrule. Their webbed feet make them excellent swimmers, and their long necks allow them to duck their heads underwater to find food. Their fatty meat is high quality. I thought there was... Okay, I was about to say, because I only remember taking a picture of one in this game, but I thought there were 2, maybe even 3 varieties of duck in Breath of the Wild, but now there's only 1, which I find interesting. Maybe I'm just completely misremembering, but I could have sworn there was at least 2 kinds of ducks in Breath of the Wild, but apparently there's not. Blue-winged heron. Actually, what did these drop? Yeah, just regular bird drumsticks. Blue-winged heron. These birds live on waterfronts all throughout Hyrule. Their characteristically thin legs and long necks help them catch water-dwelling fish or frogs for food. They lie perfectly still and wait for their prey, and then stretch out their long necks to capture their meal. Shout out to Amphibia and how fucking terrifying they made cranes and herons. Pink heron. This breed of heron is characterized by the pink tips of its feathers. Unlike its waterfront-dwelling relative, the blue-winged heron, these live in grasslands or arid regions and subsist on insects that live in the grass. They can often be found walking about, searching for food, but will fly away if they sense danger. That suddenly explains why I, in my head, moving around in Breath of the Wild, I have way more memories of running over pink herons with bloob than I do any blues. And if it's the case that the pink ones are the ones that you actually find on solid ground and on paths, and the blues are only in the shallow waters, then that makes sense. That would explain that entirely. Islander hawk. These carnivorous birds live in plains or highlands. They use their sharp talons and beaks to catch and eat small animals and other birds. They soar calmly through the sky and search for prey from above. Seagull. These birds live near the ocean. Actually, yeah, they drop full thighs. Seagull. These birds live near the ocean. They eat mainly fish, so a flock of seagulls hovering over the water is a good indication of where there are fish. Fishermen use this to their advantage while searching for a catch of their own. I remember that being a tip in the original Breath of the Wild, but then this time they expanded it to if you see a swarm of Emmy birds circling, then that's a cave, which is kind of interesting. There's actually, because I've been watching a few videos on people, and there's one person that does myth busting, and they try to bust that myth. Oh, do birds circling above a cave something mean that there's a cave there? Even though there was literally an NPC that gave you as a tip that in the game. That is an intended game mechanic. But there were still people trying to theory test if that was real, which fair enough, because sometimes this game's wording is off. Cloud seagull. This seagull subspecies dwells mostly at high altitudes and is rarely seen on the surface, although one can occasionally be glimpsed through the clouds. They excel at catching updrafts and gliding through the sky, rarely flapping their wings. It looks like, I don't know if this is the case, but so far it seems like all of the new sky animals, I think you can find all of them on the Great Sky Island. And then it's just each species has a different set of archipelagos where they're most commonly found outside of that. That seems to be the case, at least. That's interesting. That makes the Skylands even more samey than they already are, but whatever. Elden ostrich. Not a great picture of them, actually. This rare bird makes its home in the volcanic region of Elden. Their heat-resistant feathers and skin are evolutionary traits produced by the harsh environment. Their wings are too small to facilitate flight, but their long legs make them pretty speedy runners. Forest ostrich. I love its freaking long-ass emo hair, completely covering anything. Real Scraggle fella. Would look great playing the drums. Flightless birds that are thought to have roamed all over Hyrule back when it had more grasslands. They resist cold, but don't do well in hot climates because of their thick. They resist cold, but don't do well in hot climates because of their thick body covering. They're very alert and often turn their attention from the grass to look around. So that's kind of interesting that you have the heat-resistant ostrich and then you have the cold-resistant ostrich. That's kind of cool. Be a bit of a shame that actually are the woolly rhinos even in this game still? That just occurred to me. Maybe they took those guys out. Whoa. Because I'm about to say, Hebra already had too many exclusive animal types for its own good in Breath of the Wild, but this could have been a fun one to have another ostrich in the cold. Kuko. Villages often raise these birds for their eggs, but some people actually keep them as pets. They can't fly, but can flap their wings mighty furiously if picked up. They're usually calm creatures, but if you're persistent in your torture of, they're usually calm creatures, but if you're persistent in your torment of them, well, I wonder what would actually happen, because we just did that quest where you had to bring that cuckoo in the well a friend. If you went down there when it was just that one cuckoo and you attacked them, would a swarm of cuckoos still turn up to attack you in turn? Because then that would imply that well cuckoo could have summoned a group of friends at any point it wanted to, and it just wasn't. What the heck? What the heck, man? What the heck? I don't know if that's the case or not, though. Hyrule Bass. Oh, and actually, yeah, cooking effects, because now we can cook it up. An ordinary fish. Really, it calls out West Naklada, because you can kind of find them just anywhere. Hyrule Bass. An ordinary fish that hasn't changed for ages. It can be eaten raw, but cooking it amplifies its healing benefits. It can be eaten raw, but cooking it. It can be eaten raw, but cooking it amplifies its healing benefits. Hardy Bass. This large fish lives near the water's edge. A sizable body can store a lot of nutrients. When used in cooking, it will restore all your hearts and increase your maximum hearts. Extra hearts. It doesn't say full recovery and extra hearts, just extra hearts. Staminoka Bass. Do they heal? Oh, the Hardy Bass actually heals more heart than the other raw fish. That's nice. Staminoka Bass. This Hyrule Bass got to be the biggest fish by never getting caught, until now. Its long life results in a cooked dish that will restore a lot of stamina. I'm pretty sure that's the same tooltip it had Breath of the Wild. That's probably the case for most of these. But I remember that joke of until now. Maybe that's because it comes up when you pick it up. That could also just be it, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't the original game. Because I remember laughing at it like, oh, I remember that joke when I picked one up. And now I remember picking one up and laughing at the joke in Breath of the Wild. So it must have been the same tooltip. Oh, Jesus Christ, 4 hearts raw. That's actually really good. So maybe it is good that the Grizzlemall bears drop them, because that heals more than honey. Hardy Salmon. This fish makes its home in cold water, giving it extra layers of fat. It'll restore all your hearts and temporarily increase your maximum hearts when used in cooking. Chilfern Trout. And actually, I'll save that thought. Chilfern Trout. This blue trout prefers cold bodies of water. Its skin contains enzymes that keep its body cold, and when cooked into a dish, it will temporarily boost your heat resistance. Sizzlefin Trout. Starts pouring out a bit, but that's fine. Sizzlefin Trout. This red trout prefers warm bodies of water. It has a special organ specifically for storing heat. When cooked into a dish, it will temporarily boost your resistance to the cold. Voltfin Trout. I actually like the shock resistance symbol. I never really paid much attention to it, but I like this sort of asymmetrical symmetry on it, if that makes any sense. You see that with most lightning bolts, but it's like a thick lightning bolt this time, and I kind of like it. Voltfin Trout. This trout makes its home in the freshwater lakes. Its scales have an insulating compound that, when cooked into a dish, offers resistance to electricity. I wonder if it's supposed to be that, because, okay, you find it in cold water. You find it in hot water. Is it supposed to indicate that you mostly find this one in normal water? Because I found this thing in the same places that you'd find some chilfrin, and I think even some sizzlefin, but I'm not positive on that. So I don't know if it is normal water that you can get these in or not. But it would be cool if that was the indicator and they're just more common than I thought they were. Stealthfin Trout. Consuming the bioluminescent compound that makes this fish glow in the dark will increase concentration. Dishes cooked with it suppress noise when consumed. Dishes cooked with it will suppress noise when consumed. Mighty Carp. This freshwater fish lives alongside its less common. This freshwater fish lives alongside its less mighty carp ilk. A compound in its liver promotes muscle growth. Dishes cooked with it will temporarily increase your attack power. Armored Carp. Calcium deposits on the scales of this ancient fish made them as hard as armor. Cooking it into a dish will fortify your bones, temporarily increasing your defense. Less mighty, I guess, is true, but still. Hardy scales, less mighty, and whatever. Sanke Carp. This wild armored carp has been bred into a prize-winning fish. Its beautifully colored markings do not occur in nature. It offers no special effects when cooked. So if you actually pick these up and cook these, you're an asshole. But go for it. Ancient Arowana, that's actually a terrible fucking picture. Sorry. A lively fish that hasn't changed much since ancient times. Its nutritious meat can store. A lively fish that hasn't changed much since ancient times. Its nutritious meat can restore a bit of health. Glowing cave fish. A luminous fish that lives in dark caves. When consumed, its light enzyme can make one's body glow. And I'm going to put this out. These guys' body plan is very close to a salmon. And I don't know if they do, but the fact that, like, hardy salmon is seems to be like the only time of like salmon technically, but you can get like cooked and chilled salmon. I don't think that you can get that from the glowing cavefish, but if you can, that would be cool because they look a lot like a salmon. Mighty porgy. This ocean-dwelling fish comes with one rude attitude. The compounds in its flesh elevate your competitive spirit when it's cooked into a dish, thus increasing your attack power. Armored porgy. This porgy's body is covered in armor-hard scales. The compounds in the scales, when cooked into a dish, fortify your bones and temporarily boost your defense. Sneaky river snail. This large glow-in-the-dark snail lives in fresh water. When cooked into a dish, it heightens your senses so you can move about silently. Razor claw crab. This crab is well known for its exceptionally sharp pincers. When cooked, the strength compound in its claws will increase your attack power. Iron shell crab. This rarest crab in the game. Fucking tell you what. Iron shell crab. This crab's shell is particularly hard. When cooked into a dish, its fat and meat bolster the body to increase your defense. Most common crab here, bright-eyed crab. This crab appears in large numbers when it rains. One bite of its delectable meat, and you'll forget your exhaustion. Replenishes your stamina when cooked into a dish. Fairy! This fairy will fly from your pouch and heal you the moment you lose your last heart. It's easily mistaken for a firefly at first, but it glows in the daylight as well as night. It's also a completely different color than a regular firefly, but the exact same fucking color as a depths firefly, which always freaks me out whenever I'm in the depths, because I think, holy shit, that's a lot of fairies, I should pick some up. And they're not fairies, because they're not in the depths. Maybe they are. They're on the Sky Islands and the surface. Maybe they're in the depths. Then I just had too many by the time I got to any other points. I don't know. It would make sense if, like, the Spring of Rejuvenation or whatever had fairies in it. That would make sense to me, but there wasn't when I went there, so I doubt that there are. Winterwing butterfly. Oh, no hearts for eating it. I guess you can't eat critters. I never really thought about that before. You can't just eat them raw. Huh. Winterwing butterfly. The powdery scales of this butterfly's wings cool the air near it. Watching it flutter around snowflakes is a thing of beauty. Cook it with monster parts for a heat-resistant elixir. Summerwing butterfly. A butterfly found in the woods and plains of warm regions. Its wings absorb the warmth of the sun. Cook it with monster parts to create an elixir that makes you feel warm and fuzzy. Thunderwing butterfly. This rare butterfly, Thunderhead Isles, apparently, and the Faron Grasslands. Thunderhead Isles, because it was Thunder Plateau before, but of course it's not thundering there anymore. But no. Thunderhead Isles. I should have gone there instead of buying all of them off of Beetle, probably. This rare butterfly only shows itself when it rains. The organs in its body produce an insulating compound. When made into an elixir, it offers electrical resistance. When it rains, I thought it's when it was a thunderstorm it came out, but no, when it rains. Okay, so they're a lot easier to get than I thought they were. Oh well. Still, buying them from Beetle wasn't that hard. Smotherwing butterfly. This rare butterfly lives in volcanic regions. Its body contains a heat-resistant liquid, which can be turned into a topical elixir that offers resistance to flames. Oh, you don't drink the flame guard. You spread it on your skin. It's a topical. Why does Link still do the animation when you eat it then? Because you also click eat on it, don't you? But you put it on your skin. Link, you're not using it right. Link, honey, you don't drink the ointment. That's not how you get rid of the rash, Link. But man, these guys, I fucking PTSD from Breath of the Wild, and I guess this game too, because I think it was the same fucking amount. Getting the flame breaker up, PTSD from how many of these fucking things you needed. Although this game you could use the self suit instead of the flame breaker armor, so it wasn't as bad. But still, cool. Well, Jesus, bright light. Wow, snow will do that, I guess. Cold Darner. This dragonfly prefers the cool shade of trees to the warmth of the sun. Its wings disperse heat from its body, which can be cooked into a heat-resistant elixir. Malinario in the Greater Highlands is it not in Hebra? I guess not. I seem to remember catching them around Ridgeland well, whatever, because it usually only lists 2 locations. It's got to be the 2 like most common locations. Warm darner. This dragonfly has a special organ that causes it to sweat profusely. This dragonfly has a special organ that causes it to sweat profusely. Cook it with monster parts for an elixir that will raise your core temperature so that you can resist the cold. Actually, let me just double check. Yeah, okay. It is reverse effects for the dragonflies and the butterflies, but an organ that causes it to sweat profusely. Can any arthropod sweat? And there's probably a few that can secrete mucus, but sweat? Will that even like do anything? Because it's just like chitin. They don't have like skin to cool off. Would it still cool off the chitin? I don't know. Sweat. Maybe bugs do sweat, and I'm crazy, but I don't think bugs sweat. I did do it. But I don't know. Electric Darner. This rare dragonfly only. I guess it's a video game, I guess, but you know what I mean. This rare dragonfly only appears in the rain. Its wings direct electricity away from its body. Cook it with the monster parts for an electricity resistance elixir. Restless cricket. Better picture of the darner than the cricket. Funny enough, stamina recovery, which is like very interesting, but I guess it makes sense because they can jump far and run fast. A very energetic cricket. Cook it with monster parts to create a stamina recovery elixir. A very energetic cricket. Cook it with monster parts to create a stamina recovery elixir. I just now realized I did. Maybe I noticed this in Breath of the Wild too when I read these out. But just reading cricket there, yeah, it's a restless cricket, not a restless grasshopper. It looks very grasshopper-ish, but it is a cricket. Actually, we're gonna take a break real quick. Get like a better look at it in my inventory because I should still have some, right? Yeah, it looks a lot like a grasshopper. I mean, like crickets and grasshoppers. I think that like technically a grasshopper is a type of cricket. I'm pretty sure. A cricket is not a grasshopper, but a grasshopper is a cricket. But like, it's pretty big, pretty green, and its head is like because a cricket. At least typically, when you think of a cricket, its head's a bit more like roundish. There's more of like a neck separating the head and the body. But the grasshopper, they're more squarish and boxy, and their head and their body kind of blends together. And so, like, it looks a lot like a grasshopper to me, but in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter at all. Bladed rhino beetle. This beetle's razor-sharp horns demand that you handle it with care. Boil the horns alongside monster parts to concoct an elixir that will raise your attack power. Actually, interesting that for most of these bug things, like this is an exception, but with like stuff like, I know it does say, I guess this one kind of says its wings, but like this one specifically, most of them call out a body part of the bug that provides the effect. But then they still say to just cook the whole bug with the monster. This says boil the horns. Just the horns. You still throw the whole beetle in, but apparently you just need the horns? Okay. Rugged rhino beetle. This beetle's hard body resembles armor. When the shell is cooked with monster parts, the resulting elixir boosts your defense. The new beetle for this game, I don't know why they added a new one, but they did. Energetic rhino beetle. This valuable beetle can live up to 10 years. When cooked with monster parts, its impressive vitality translates into an elixir that will restore your stamina. I guess that kind of makes sense, because, like, vitality... I mean, this game uses vitality for hearts and vigor for stamina, though, so yeah, that doesn't make sense. Because, like, technically it's living longer, so it's lasting longer, so that would be stamina, but also it's losing life slower, so that would be more hearts. So... That's it. That's an interesting logic, but whatever. Sunset Firefly. This firefly glows gently in the dark. When cooked with monster parts, the compound that causes it to glow results in an elixir that will allow you to move more quietly. Which is like, that's the thing with all of the stealth gear, is you cook glowing things, and somehow the thing that makes it more obvious to see makes you stealthy. Somehow. But Deep Firefly. A multi-winged insect that lives in the depths. It excretes luminescent elements that can be cooked to elixir, which will add a faint glow to anyone who consumes it. Hot-footed frog. A quick frog that can be found hopping around near water. Cook it with monster parts to draw out its speed boost effect. Tireless frog. This rare frog prefers dark and moist places. When cooked with monster parts, the elixir it produces will temporarily increase your maximum stamina. And I'm pretty sure that's the critter that sells for the most out of all the critters. And so when you're making monster elixirs to sell for money, it's best to use these guys, the tireless frogs. I don't even know if any suit upgrades required them. I think it was one of them might have used. I think one of the boots might have used 5 or something, but I don't think they're used for any suit upgrades either. So it's very smart to use these guys for cooking for selling. Stinky Frog, the new frog, baby. Love him. Love the blue. Love the orange. Sexy beast. This frog likes to cling to walls and hang out. It oozes a substance that climbers can use to cling to wet surfaces. Which would imply that the sticky elixir is also topical, because you'd have to put it on your hands so that they become sticky. But Link still drinks it. Hightail lizard, little doofy guy, little man, love him. A lizard found throughout Hyrule. It's a bit slow to react at times, but if given a chance to escape, it will dart off quickly. Cook it with monster parts for a speed boosting elixir. Hardy lizard. This rare lizard lives deep in the forests. It feeds on high nutrient foods, giving it great vitality. When used to make elixirs, it will temporarily increase your maximum hearts. See there, vitality is also used again, but this time for hearts instead of stamina. Fireproof lizard. This rare lizard can only be found in the Elden region. Its scales have heat-resistant properties, so when cooked with monster parts, it produces a fire-resistant elixir. It produces a fire-resistant elixir. Jesus, I'm getting tongue-tied. Oh, I was saying down instead of sideways, sorry. Sticky lizard. Love the hammerhead sort of vibe these guys got. Very smart. They look more like a salamander than a lizard to me, which is an amphibian, not a reptile. But I guess for a layman, yeah, okay, it's a lizard. The suction of its toes allows this lizard to easily climb. The suction of its toes allows this lizard to easily cling to walls. It could be an asset for any climber. It could be an asset for a climber on wet surfaces if it were mixed into an elixir. Section of the toes, not the stuff it oozes, so maybe it's not a topical. But on that note of lizard and salamander, I always kept talking about the Zora in the game and saying oh, they're shark themed. That's interesting because Poseidon was very clearly a shark, and then Muzu and Yana, they were raised, and so oh, they're supposed to be shark themed characters. But Dorphan is a whale, which I did kind of pick up on. I was he looks a bit more whalish, but maybe he's supposed to be a whale shark, ? But there's some people saying he's just a whale. But apparently some of the Zora have dolphin-themed headgear, which I did not notice or pick up on at all. So apparently it is both sharks and dolphins for the Zora this time, which I guess kind of makes sense from a stylistic perspective, but from an evolutionary one, that's a bit of different paths, but okay. Choo-choo. Oh, we've done it. That was the last. Animal. We're on to monsters. We're done with creatures. On to monsters. Choo-choo, little guy, little blue guy, double up. I think they're doubled up when I got a picture in Breath of the Wild too, which is kind of funny. This low-level gel-based monster can be found all over Hyrule. It tends to spring its attacks on unsuspecting prey from the ground or from trees. Its strength varies by size, and the type of jelly it drops varies depending on whether the choo-choo was heated up, cooled down, or shocked, which is why my first choo-choo jelly ended up being a fire choo-choo jelly in Breath of the Wild, and that threw me through a loop for so long. Fire choo-choo. This low-level gel monster is engulfed in flames. Its strength varies depending on its size. It tends to explode if attacked from close range, so the use of spears, arrows, and other ranged weapons is advised. Ice choo-choo. Elden Canyon and the Elden Mountains. Okay, yeah. I guess, okay, sure, Elden Canyon, technically a different location. But Hyrule Mountains and Gerudo Highlands, actual different locations. Ice choo-choo. This low-level gel monster is engulfed in freezing cold air. Its strength varies depending on its size. It tends to explode if attacked from close range, so the use of spears, arrows, and other ranged weapons is advised. Same tip at the end, too. Okay, electric choo-choo. This low-level gel monster is engulfed in electricity. West Nakleta and the Gerudo Desert. Which, yeah, Gerudo Desert definitely. West Nakleta, though. That didn't really occur to me. I guess No. Can't think of many times I encountered them there, but I suppose they must have. Its strength varies depending on its size. It tends to explode if attacked from close range, so the use of spears, arrows, and other ranged weapons is advised. And technically, the regular Choo-Choo explodes too, but its explosion gives you the wet status effect, and there's not that many electric monsters in the game in the same places as Choo-Choos. So the splash effect is usually beneficial around them. Keys! The unpredictable flight pattern of this nocturnal bat species can make fighting them a nuisance, but they're weak enough to fell with a single strike. Sometimes they like to form packs, and they have been seen swarming out of caves. Together. Fire keys. Elden Mountain depths. Interesting that they call that out, because I kind of found them all over in the depths. Fire keys. The fire that engulfs the bodies of these bat-like keys makes them more dangerous than the standard type. They're capable of setting fire to anything they touch. Bat-like. They do call out bat-like, which I guess makes sense because they're monsters, not actual animals. But, yeah, there are actual bats in the Zelda universe, and the keys are just a bat-like monster. Which they're becoming less and less like... In a lot of the early games, they were just straight-up bats. But they've been becoming, more and more monstrous and mythical as time's gone on. Now there's freaking Cyclopses. But, ice keys. The... Same Heber Mountain Lunario. That's different locations, actually. No, not in the Gerudo Highlands. Ice keys. The intense frost that engulfs the bodies of these bat-like keys makes them more dangerous than the standard type. They're capable of freezing anything they touch. Electric keys, Gerudo Desert and the Gerudo Desert depths. The electricity that engulfs the bodies of these bat-like keys makes them more dangerous than the standard type. They're capable of shocking anything they touch. Very similar tool tips for all of them. Water Rock to Rock. Although they spend most of their time in water, they burst out when they sense someone. The rocks they spit out can be bounced back with a shield. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. You could probably use Rewind too, which seems more useful because it doesn't require precise timing and it doesn't use durability. But hey, if somehow it shouldn't be possible because of all the checks Nintendo put in place, but if by some miracle you got off the Great Sky Island without Rewind and you wanted to bounce back a rock at an Octorok, you can do it! Forest Octorok. Although originally an aquatic species, this type has adapted to life in the forest. They hide among the trees, disguising themselves as grass or unassuming shrubbery, and then attack when someone wanders by. Most annoying variety of them, I'll tell you that much. Rock Octorok. This octopus-like species of monster lives in volcanic regions. When they inhale, they're preparing to spit out flaming rocks. Be aware of that powerful suction. Because in the original game, they could upgrade your gear. They could give your gear random modifiers. And they can still do that in this game. But in this game, apparently they also repair any of the gear that they eat. And so now, I really regret in Breath of the Wild, I didn't end up using the champion weapons that much because I didn't want to risk breaking them. If I had known that Rock Octoroks could fix the champion weapons, though, then I would have used the champion's weapons and then just avoided breaking them. When they got badly damaged, I would have just gone and found an Octorok to repair them. I kind of wish that I knew that, assuming that was still a mechanic back then, because maybe it wasn't. Although a mechanic that is new in this game, presumably because you don't have the bomb room anymore, so bombing them is a little bit harder. In this game, you can actually break the rock on the top with a hammer weapon, and that'll bring them out of hiding, which I very much appreciate. That is a cool change. Really love that. Snow Octorok. These octopus-like monsters live in snowy fields and disguise themselves as grass. When someone wanders by, they spring into action and attack by spitting snowballs. Treasure Octorok. And this one actually lists all the rupee types, so I don't know why they didn't do that for the Bloopy. They can't drop gold rupees, though, apparently, which I don't think the Bloopy can otherwise. I don't think the Bloopy can drop silver either, but maybe they can. They can drop the eyes and the balloons, but not the tentacles, in exchange for all the rupees. I guess that kind of makes sense. Treasure Octorok. These particularly clever monsters bury themselves in deep sand or snow and disguise themselves as treasure chests. Anyone who approaches the chests is attacked. It is said that the treasure chests on their heads are actually parts of these monsters' bodies. They look slightly detached, but they could be. It could also be a hermit crab situation, but I'm going to take this game's word for it. Fair Grasslands, apparently. I only remember them being in the Gerudo Highlands, and maybe even regular Gerudo in the original, but Farron apparently. These did not catch me off guard nearly as much as they did in Breath of the Wild. And I think that's probably largely because I already knew where the 8th Heron statue was in this game, and so I wasn't exploring the Gerudo Highlands nearly as much as I did in Breath of the Wild. I spent way too long there. It made me sick of the fucking place. But yeah, I just did not encounter these nearly as much in this game as I did the original. Which I guess is kind of nice. It didn't catch me off guard as much. I do remember encountering one not in the Gerudo Highlands, but I don't remember it being Farron. There was one next to a lake we encountered just a couple streams ago, and I can't remember where that was now. Or was it next to a chasm? It was next to a chasm we were getting when we were filling out the map. But I cannot for life of me remember where. Fire Wizrobe. These spellcasting monsters can be found all over Hyrule. They hurl fireballs, summon fleeting monsters, and have been known to severely raise the temperature around them. The weather will normalize once the Wizrobe is defeated. And see, like, this is the thing. I've seen videos, and so I know they can do this now. They can summon actual special weather conditions, most notably the thunder ones. They can make a thunderstorm start, like, out of nowhere. But also they can summon choo-choos and keys to attack you. Could they do that in Breath of the Wild? I only encountered Wizrobes like 2 or 3 times in this game, but I never remember them summoning anything to attack me in Breath of the Wild. And they definitely never did it in this game. But I've been killing them faster in this game, so that is a new mechanic that would explain why. But, like, the thing with the Wizrobes is it's just like a weird enemy. Because actually hitting them with an arrow is pretty tough. But if you can manage to hit them, they die in like 2 hits, so they're not that tanky. They have elemental attacks, so their damage can be pretty decent, but usually you can get your shots in to like stun them or scare them away fast enough so that it's not a problem. And they just like feel so remote to everything. Like, they're very rarely guarding like a point where there's a treasure chest you have to pick up, or there's a Korok, or there's like a monster camp to attack. They're always like off on their own by some random ass ruin where there's nothing else. Just spinning in circles, not doing a damn thing. And like in both games, you can get the magic rods off them, and rods are better in this game, at least in my opinion, than the original game. But like even still, this is like a weird enemy type that doesn't really mesh well with like any of the other enemy types. Maybe I just haven't taken on enough monster camps though. Ice Wizrobe. These spellcasting monsters can be found all over Hyrule. They create freezing blasts of air, summon frozen monsters, and have been known to cause blizzards to severely decrease the temperature around them. The weather will normalize once the Wizrobe is defeated. Electric Wizrobe. Narga Spring. Really? Oh yeah, the Lorna Great Spring is in Bizora something. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Tabantha. These spellcasting monsters can be found all over Hyrule. No, not Farron though. Apparently, they hurl balls of electricity, summon monsters surging with electricity, and have been known to cause thunderstorms in the area. The weather will normalize once the Wizrobe is defeated. Meteor Wizrobe. Gerudo Highlands and Karla Highlands. Oh, both Highlands. That's interesting. These spellcasting monsters can be found all over Hyrule. They hurl multiple fireballs, summon flaming monsters, and have been known to severely raise the temperature all around them. They're more resilient than fire Wizrobes. Blizzrobe, just Gerudo Highlands, which is that where the... No, okay. These spellcasting monsters can be found all over Hyrule. They use staves to create freezing blasts of air to summon frozen monsters, and have been known to cause blizzards to severely decrease the temperature around them. They're more dangerous than Ice Wizrobes. And with the monster summoning thing, apparently the ice... It's either Ice Wizrobe or Blizzrobe, I can't remember which. They have like a higher spawn rate of choo-choos than keys, but for every other Wizrobe, it's a higher spawn rate of keys than choo-choos, which makes some people think that they might be bugged out somehow, which is kind of interesting. And Thunder Wizrobe, Lunaria Great Spring, and East Eclata, compared to Demand the Frontier, okay? These spellcasting monsters can be found all over Hyrule. They hurl multiple balls of electricity, summon monsters surging with electricity, and have been known to cause thunderstorms in the area. They are more resilient and dangerous than electric Wizrobes. The like. God, what did they do to you? You were so doofy and cute in the old ones, and now you're just fucking disgusting. I wonder, because the sludge light can walk around and move. You can see the little nubbins that look like legs on top of these guys. I wonder if these guys can technically move, like, lore-wise. It's just they never do for gameplay reasons. Because that'd be kind of cool. A monster that has been appearing all over Hyrule in recent days. Found dwelling in caves and other dark places, it has an appetite for swords and shields. If you get too close, it may lunge at you with its mouth wide. If you get too close, it may lunge at you with its mouth wide, swallowing you whole, and eat your equipment. The tongue in the center of its mouth is very sensitive. Attack it to make the critter falter. The tongue in the center of its mouth is very sensitive. Attack it to make the creature falter. No drops technically for the Wizrobes, because you normally get their rods, but that's not like a pickup of materials that doesn't like count. But yeah, like stones and arrows apparently. I do remember them often dropping arrows now that the game brings it up, but like that's not something I always associate with them. But it's nice that it does that to like replenish what you spent fighting it. Fire-like. Fire fruit too, they can drop. That's nice. Yeah, of course, yeah, because the ice likes drop ice fruit. Yeah, that makes sense. And the shock likes drop shock fruit. Why am I surprised that the fire like drops fire fruit? I'm losing it. These monsters live in these monsters live mostly in caves near volcanoes. They belch scorching fire out of their maws. There are still many mysteries about them, but it seems they don't do well in the cold. Don't get too close, or they'll gulp you up in their large gullets and give you an all too close look at their insides. Don't like that, except you like that. For me, daddy. Don't like that. Ice-like. And actually, where are these guys found? Yeah. These monsters live mostly in caves and snowy areas. They belch freezing cold air out of their maws, but there are still many mysteries about them. But it seems they don't do well with fire. Don't get too close, or they'll gulp you up into their large gullets and give you an all too close look at their insides. And then shock-like, which have more health than the other ones for some reason. Hyrule Field, I guess that's including Hyrule Castle. These monsters can be found all over Hyrule, in dark places such as caves. They generate electricity inside their bodies and expel powerful lightning balls from their mouths. It's believed that they stun their prey this way, but there's still many unknowns about them. Not really much need to stun their prey when they can swallow it whole, but sure, whatever. That's when I found the Great Plateau, which I guess is also Hyrule Field technically, so. Game's spit on me. Rock-like. Elden Mountains and the Lunara wetlands. These monsters can be found all over Hyrule in dark places such as caves. They're covered in rocks that shield them like armor. They try to intimidate you by spitting rocks out of their mouths, but they can be quieted when they have swallowed something. And apparently, again, me being dumb with the hand abilities and not using them for combat nearly much as I should have, you don't have to use bomb arrows on these guys. You can just rewind their own boulders, and it will blow up their own armor. I feel so dumb. Evermead, that's a big-ass drop table. Great Hollow Forest makes sense. Hyrule Field makes sense. Actually, does Great Hollow Forest make sense? Do they attack you in the Lost Woods? I haven't gone to the Lost Woods since I killed Phantom Ganon, and I'm pretty sure that's what you have to do to actually unlock them in this game. Maybe that's something to try at some point. But yeah, I can drop all 3 beetles, just the hightail laser, which I guess makes sense because that's the one listed that you find in trees. The 2 nuts, but not pine cones, interestingly. Golden apple. Monster extract, that's a little bit wacky. Thick stick and a Korok frond. I never got, from Golden Apple onwards, I never got any of those drops from these guys, but also I barely killed any. I just ran past them whenever we were in the groves and the depths, and you barely encountered them on the surface. Since I kept using, Horriblin horns and shit, I just never had a chopping weapon to fight them with, and so I just ignored them. Oops. Aracuda! Oh, actually, I love the lieutenant things now I think about it. It's very cute. The little flying mountain manta ray guy. Common locations Greater Hyrule. Does that mean everywhere aside from Hyrule Field? Question mark. Aracuda, an airborne monster that can be recognized by its distinctive cries. They have strong, dexterous feet and can often be seen cruising through the sky with animals or other monsters in their clutches. Thankfully, the breed's lightweight aerodynamic body makes it easy to shoot down. I never saw them carrying animals. I saw them carrying bomb barrels and shit. I never saw them carrying animals. And apparently, they don't have 1 health like I thought they do. Apparently, they have 2 health. There's a very, small amount of things in this game. Basically nothing. But there's occasional things that can do exactly 1 damage. And if you use that on an Aracuda, it will only lose half of its health. So it is possible to not one-shot them if you're trying to not one-shot them. Gibdo, of course, desert depths. A monster that appeared along with the Sand Shroud. Also, there's something about likes, but we'll get back to that. And also, yeah, Woolly Rhino, not in the game anymore. That's interesting that those have gone extinct, apparently. I think they were called out as being endangered in the last game, so, yikes. I just pulled on my collar. Why did I do that? I don't have a face cam. Gibdo, a monster that appeared along with the Sand Shroud. Although slow to move, they can fight without faltering to physical attacks thanks to their tough outer skin. On the other hand, they are vulnerable to fire and lightning, which can turn them white and brittle. It's not technically mummy wrappings anymore, thick outer skin, but I like the bug. I like the bug zombie vibe that they're going for. It's very, very fucking cool. Moth Gibdo. These monsters appeared along with the Sand Shroud, winged horrors that attack quickly while in flight. They have tough skin that allows them to withstand physical attacks. Fire and lightning are effective against them. They also have their breath attack, which I don't think the regular ones have. And also, I'm just now noticing, these guys also have moth antenna. I thought the wings were the only difference, but they also have like little like antenna things on their heads, so that's kind of cool. I wonder if these are like the elates, because like I guess there's lots of different types of like casts that you can have like in a eusocial insect colony, but I wonder like since these are the winged Gibdos, are they elates? Can these become a queen Gibdo if like the queen dies and they're exposed to something? Probably gloom. And here we go, the basic monsters. Bokoblin. This common species is a nuisance all over Hyrule. While not very clever, they are at least intelligent enough to hunt beasts and grill the meat for food. They are sometimes seen marching in groups. If they come at you, watch out for their sharp horns. And I am going to comment on their horns every time. Luckily, there's actually a little image of the horn in the bottom left to help me with this. But I think I will make my commentary on some of their horns and what I think was cool. When I first finished Breath of the Wild, and I looked at the Tears of the Kingdom trailer to like see what I was looking forward to in like 2 or 3 months down the line, it immediately stood out to me of like, holy shit, their horns are different. Their horns are so much bigger. They have unicorn horns, and now they've got like serrated edges and whatnot. It's very, very cool, very surprising. Very cool, very surprising. I quite like it. But it is also a basic horn. It's it's kind of whatever, just a knife. Blue Bokoblin. Oh, and the Brits can't even drop guts, which I think was the same in the first game. I seem to remember that being the case. This common species is a nuisance all over Hyrule. They're tougher than the red Bokoblins, and their horns are sharper, so watch out. And they've got this kind of like prong thing going on with their horns. It splits into like 2. Very similar texturing, actually, looking at it now, to the basic horns, but like thinner, maybe a little bit smaller, and they fork out to like a double pair of horns. But it's not 2 horns, though. It is 1 horn. The horn just splits at the top to make it look like it's got 2 demon horns. Black Bokoblin. Although Bokoblins are generally a nuisance, the Black Bokoblins are among the most dangerous type. They're extremely resilient and powerful, especially when it comes to their forceful attacks with their hefty horns. And I gotta say, I think the Black Bokoblin horn is my favorite horn in the entire game. I love the golden trimming around it. I love the trident and how it like curves out on the sides a little bit. I actually think, hold on, let me move around some of my amiibo to get like a better look at this. Yeah, I'd argue that that's fancier than the light scale trident. It's got like the same like number of like little bits like sticking out, but I think curving outward instead of inward gives it a much more like interesting look. I really like the Black Goblin horn. Stalkoblin. It's actually a great fucking picture. I love that picture. That's great. Shame I didn't save that for the freaking Colton thing. The remains of Bokoblins hate light and only move about in the dark. While they're fragile enough to crumble from a single blow, they have sharp horns, and as long as the skull remains intact, they'll continue to pull themselves back together and go on fighting. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the stall monsters really confuse me, because when you kill these monsters in the game, they are revived by the Blood Moon. It's not like a new monster is coming to replace them. The wording implies that, oh, that's the same monster, it's not dead anymore, it's back now. Which makes me wonder, how could they have skeletons left to reanimate? I mean, like, when you kill the monsters and take their loot, that loot doesn't warp back to them when they're revived. You get to keep that loot. And so I guess they do leave corpses behind, technically. They poof away in the gameplay because it's a children's game, but in the flashback sequences of Breath of the Wild, there were Bokoblin and Lionel corpses up on that hill. So maybe they do die and they leave bodies behind, and it's just an entirely new body is made when they have to be revived instead of just bringing the old one back to life or using it, sucking it up, or whatever you want to call that. And so, like, there's explanations you can come up with, but it's still, like, a little bit of a weird thing. Silver Bokoblin. It's weird that the stall is, like, before silver, actually. I don't know if I like that. Silver Bokoblin. You would be foolish to call these Silver Bokoblins a mere nuisance. They have been influenced by Ganon's fiendish magic, so they are stronger than even the Black Bokoblins. It said that the Demon King's power marked their silver bodies with purple patterns. The magic glow at the tip of their horns may look funny at a glance, but don't take these creatures lightly, or the joke will be on you. Okay, so first off, The magical markings on the silver ones, that was brought up in Breath of the Wild too. I think that actually makes more sense in Breath of the Wild though, because Malice was more purple than Gloom, and Gloom is very red and crimson. So like they could have totally redesigned the silvers this time of just change their purple markings to silver. They have new horns anyway. It wouldn't be that hard to like change the texture of just like put it through a color filter. But the purple markings actually feel a little bit weird now that the game's pointed that out. But yeah, their horns are a bit doofy. The big like bubbly thing on the top. I am curious because like looking at it, it looks like one of those like toys, those like fuzzy like rubbery toys that you could get. I don't know if you know what you're talking about. They're like really small. Usually got them in like gumball machines, and they're kind of like Brussels, like plastic rubber Brussels around like a little small ball in the very center. I feel like that's what they would feel like. It looks like soft and like fuzzy, and like I could like rub it around. It would also have like a bit of like a tactile feel to it. But it could be spiky. It could be hard, like a star fragment sort of thing. I honestly thought, I can't remember what I said it was, but I thought there was something fused to its horn when I first picked one up. When I first saw them, and I thought it could have been a star fragment, but no, that's just how their horns look. Unknown common locations, actually, that's interesting. Yeah, they do. They do call out different locations for these guys, which I guess makes sense because their scaling now is a little bit more random. Isn't the right word? Fixed isn't the right word. You know what I mean? They don't all scale anymore. Boss Bokoblin. These heavyweight monsters are leaders of Bokoblins. They swagger about, whistling commands to the teams of minions nervously trailing them. Their heavy horns are so sharp they can slice large trees clean in half. Very fitting he's walking towards the tree there then. First off, it's weird that they're not given a special name, that they're just boss Bokoblins. That is a little bit strange, but the Bokoblin mask works on them, so I guess that does track. They are technically Bokoblins. This one's horn's kind of basic and boring. It's just like a sword with a yellow ribbon on it. It's a bit too special. Like, I know I was just praising the Black Bokoblin horn for its fanciness, but if that's fanciness that feels like it could be nature, that's just a literal object slapped on its head. And so I don't know. I think it's a little bit too doofy for my tastes, but whatever. I guess you could say that about all the boss Bokoblins, though. It's just the red one feels too basic. Blue boss Bokoblin. These heavyweight monsters are leaders of Bokoblins. They've got more stamina. They've got more stamina than the red variety, and they execute powerful punches with their weapons They execute powerful punches and weapon attacks. The horns on their heads are sharper too. Blue boss Bokoblin horn. It's got it's just a single-sided axe with a red ribbon on the end. Kind of simple, but I like it better than the red one. I actually wondered, that looks like a sword, but I think all the the boss horns count as axe weapons, because the regulars are sword weapons, and so these guys are axe weapons. But still kind of neat. Black boss Bokoblin. Black boss Bokoblin. These heavyweight monsters are leaders of Bokoblins, and this variety has very high stamina thanks to their large muscles. Even skilled warriors will find them challenging due to their coordinated attacks involving minions, and those horns are just pure evil. I do love the double-bladed axe on these guys. It looks cooler than the single-sided axe, and the purple ribbon works really well with the yellow trim. I think another reason why I might have liked the black horn so much is, I mean, maybe it's not the case. No, it's not the case. It's only the case for the bosses. Yeah, this is only the case for the boss. The boss Black Bokoblin has yellow markings instead of the white that regular ones have. And so the yellow on its horn matches its body a lot better, which is very cool. Also, it works well with the Royal Claymore he's holding specifically in this instance, but whatever. Silver Boss Bokoblin. The mightiest of all boss Bokoblins. It's a wonder that they're related to all the lowly garden variety Bokoblin. It's a wonder that they're related at all to the lowly garden variety Bokoblin. The evil power of the Demon King dwells in their bodies and horns, enabling formidable attacks. And watch out for the elite minions that hang around them too. Watch out for the elite minions that hang around them too. I do kind of like the circular saw sort of vibe to the horn. I love the red ribbon being tied around the top too, and also dangling off the sides. I think it's a little bit doofier than the blue and the black Bokoblin horns, but I appreciate that they tried something different with it. The pure round thing, it does stand out compared to any of the other horns. The pizza cutter Bokoblin, kind of nice. Moblin. This heavyweight species of monster can be found all over Hyrule. They're physically very strong, with a horn hard enough to crush a rock. With their incredibly powerful arms, Moblins have been known to pick up Bokoblins and throw them as makeshift makeshift projectile weapons, which we actually encountered this time. Didn't encounter that at all in Breath of the Wild, but I saw a moblin throw up a goblin at me in this game, so that's cool. I think the bosses might be able to do it too. I'm not sure. But the moblin horn, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I miss their old like forward prongy horn from the original game, but the moblin horns all function as clubs, which is different than the Bokos, and so that's nice variety in the types of weapons you're getting from killing the monster camps, and so I appreciate that. It's quite clearly, oh god, what's it called? It's not Pachycephalosaurus. Is it Pachycephalosaurus? Maybe it is Pachycephalosaurus. But there's that one dinosaur that's got like the hardened head with like the little spikes sticking out of the like the side of it that people think may have head-butted, but that's also mostly like a pop culture thing. It's got that kind of vibe. It's got the same kind of head horn that those dinosaurs had on the top of their heads. And so that's kind of cool. Blue Moblin. These heavyweight monsters can be found all over Hyrule. They're much tougher than their standard counterparts, with more powerful arms and a fully developed horn on their heads to smash things, to smash things with. I really do like these guys. The two-pronged bull horn, very cool. Although looking at it now, it might be the same case as the black horns, the black goblin horns, where it's a single horn that splits into two instead of two horns sticking out of the side of their head. But even still, it gives them a kind of like a cow-like vibe that I think looks very cool. The horn itself, but on the monster, very nice looking. Love it. Very appreciate it. Black Moblin. These heavyweight monsters can be found all over Hyrule, and they're among the most dangerous types of Moblin. They're extremely resilient, and a blow from the heavy horn can easily crush a rock. I don't know why I was saying iron. But commenting on the horn, pinecone looking ass. It's such like a doofy little thing. I had to collect them for like the suit upgrades, and I kept like laughing every time I picked one up because it's a very silly one. It's very silly. It's a pinecone. You use a pinecone to make your hammer. Stall Moblin. The remains of moblins appear in the dark. The remains of moblins appear in the dark. That's a weird way to word it. That appear and attack in the dark, I would have assumed. The remains of moblins that are animated in the dark, but just the remains of moblins appear in the dark. That's a weird opener. Even the toughest moblins become fragile when they're little more than a pile of bones, so they'll crumble just after just a few attacks. However, as long as the skull remains intact, they'll continue to pull themselves back together and go on fighting. They have hard, heavy horns, and they hate strong light. And actually, I might have commented on this before, but I don't think I did. All the stall mobs have the same horns as their basic monster counterparts. I think a major missed opportunity for this game, mostly for nostalgia's sake, would be to make it... Well, there's two options. Option one is randomize the horns. Make it so that different stall monsters based on region would have different horn drops. That would be pretty cool, but it could also be OP because you can instantly kill them with Dazzle Fruit and they die in the sunlight and whatnot. So I could see why they might not want to do that. It might be hard to code in that many varieties of the same enemy. And so I could understand not doing that. But it would have been cool that since they changed all of the basic horns from the base game to this game, if the stall mobs still had the old horn designs. If since they're all the dead monsters from Breath of the Wild, they have all the Breath of the Wild horns. That would have been interesting. It would have been an excuse to keep those designs relevant even in Tears of the Kingdom for nostalgia's sake. But it's not a big loss. And they probably do less damage than the base counterparts anyway, so who really cares? Silver Moblin. Oh, that's the one that's just outside the tower I always went to talk to Colton in. I always enjoyed a meal every time I worked there. The Demon King's fiendish magic has imbued silver moblins with the greatest power and resilience of all the moblins. They're called silver for their body color as well as their rarity. The purple patterns on their bodies also help them to stand out. The ominous-looking horn has the potential for a powerful attack. It says rarity, but even as little as I engage with the monster camps, just about every time I saw a monster camp in the distance, it had one of these in it. So it's not that rare, but I guess it is rare compared to the other moblin types. Their horns are very interesting. The sort of rammy, curly spiral thing. It's a very cool and interesting design. But the one thing I'm not sure I like about it is its asymmetry, where it just sticks out massively on one side of their head, but barely on the other side. It does create an interesting look, but I'm not sure I'm a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the asymmetry in general, and so that's probably bias on my part. But it can make them look goofy from certain angles. But it's whatever. Better than it sticking straight forward looking like that. Lizalfos, my favorite shot I took in the game. One of my favorites, at least. And their horns actually have changed this time. These quick-witted lizard-like monsters can be found all over Hyrule. There are sly species that lurk underwater or use camouflage to blend in with the environment to launch ambushes. Moreover, they never sleep. And even when they have no weapons, they'll come at you swinging their sword-like horn. I love their horn swing animation too. It's hilarious. Gotta say though, their horn, one of the more boring ones in this game, I didn't even notice it had changed at all until I went back and watched some playthroughs of Breath of the Wild. And I was like, oh hey, that is a different horn. It's very similar to their old one. But it does match their talons well, and so that's cool. Blue Lizalfos. These quick-witted lizard-like monsters can be found all over Hyrule. Compared to their green Lizalfos, many of these carry much stronger weapons and are extremely dangerous with their longer and sharper horns. Blue Lizalfos horn, another one of my favorites in the game. Love it. Great katana-like vibe. And it's a blue mob, so it's not like that much damage, but it's decent, especially in the early and even some of the mid-game. I relied on them a lot in my playthrough. Actually, annoyed that the tail and the horn spots are swapped here. That's actually pissing me off a little. Yeah, and it's different for like all of them. That's a little bit annoying. Maybe it's the order that you got the loot that they show up in the recoverable materials menu, but that's annoying. But yeah, one of my favorite horns, with a caveat that we'll get back to later. But it does make it look. Another thing is similar to the blue moblin. It does add a sense of imposingness to this mob. Just to have like the huge ass horn sticking out of the front of its head, you can see a blue Lizalfos a mile away compared to the other Lizzles, and that's neat. Black Lizalfos. This quick-witted lizard-like species of monster found all over Hyrule. Their sharpened horn cuts like a knife, so be cautious even if they're not carrying a weapon. They're among the most dangerous Lizalfos, with high stamina. And their horn, I do really like it. It's very like thick compared to like the regular horn, and like the yellow on the tip helps that thickness stand out. But it's also stubbier, which again helps you tell them apart from the blue ones, even from a distance. But it's a nice, like, big, stubby, chode horn, I guess you could call it, which I appreciate. Stalzalfos, which, yeah, regular Lizzle horn, it looks pretty big there, but that's just because well, not really foreshortening. That's not the right word. It's closer to the camera, so it looks bigger. The remains of Lizalfos appear in the dark. They're as sly as ever, even now that they're just some bones stacked on top of each other, and still possess blade-like sharp horns. If a skull remains intact, they will pull themselves back up and continue to fight. Actually, two things. One, it's a shame that the Lizalfos doesn't have like an elbow attack, because they whip with their tails, which you can use their tails as a weapon, but you can also use their talons as a weapon in this game. But they never like butt you with your elbow to like get you away. Like the mobbins will like kick you. It'd be cool if the Lizzles could like slash at you with their elbows occasionally. That would be kind of fun. But one thing I love about the Stalzalfos is that regular Lizzles have a tongue attack, where they'll like open their mouth, launch their tongue out, and like smack you with it. They'll still do the thing where they like hunch their holders and open their mouth and like stick their head back a bit, like they're about to shoot their tongue out at you. But they're skeletons. They don't have a tongue anymore, so nothing happens, and they just sit there like, why isn't anything happening? And it's hilarious. Fire Breath Lizalfos. I will say their horns are a little bit too similar to the Black Lizalfos in my opinion, but they're a great way of, these quick-witted lizard-like monsters can be found all over Hyrule. Their fiery breath makes them pretty dangerous, but exposure to the cold will kill them instantly. The lava-like horn retains extreme heat and burns anything it touches. They mainly live in volcanic regions. And this is going for both the fire and the ice breath Lizalfos, because you can instantly kill them with elemental attacks, and their horns deal a decent amount of damage with an elemental modifier. They're a pretty good thing to just slap on your weapons. I ended the game with like over 100 of each of the Lizzle horns just from farming them for tails, elemental Lizzle horns. So like, if you're ever low on weapons, going to the Gerudo Islands and farming these guys is like a good tip to just get a shit ton of stuff to freeze enemies or set them on fire. Ice Breath Lizalfos, a quick-witted lizard-like species of monster found all over Hyrule. They are a troublesome species that spits balls of ice and store freezing power inside their pale horns, but will die instantly if touched by fire. They live mainly on snowy mountains. First off, I love the tongue there. Like him like licking his lips a little bit. I like these guys' horns a lot more than the fire ones. I like the jaggedness of the front of it. It does look like crystals and ice spikes and whatnot. But very similar pattern of like transition from body to ice to like the body to lava that you see here, like stone and then the element. But where these ones feel too much like the black horns from a distance, these ones stand out a decent bit, and I really like them. And that's the other thing. In the first game, I would often, like, from a distance, I would often mix up blue and ice Lizzles or fire and black Lizzles because they looked so similar. And so the problem isn't as bad anymore, but it still kind of persists with fire and black. But now, because of the horns, I never mix up the blue and ice Lizzles anymore. I can tell exactly what they are from a distance, which is very good. Another bonus of the custom horns is you can always tell what kind of enemy you're going up against, which is great. Appreciate it. Also, just now noticing the armor the Lizzles have around their backs. I never really paid much attention to that before, but they do all have like armor running down their backs and their heads. That's kind of cool. I think I picked up on like the gray color on the regular Lizzles, but I never like realized like, oh yeah, they're like extra protected, huh? Neat. Almost kind of armadillo vibe with that armor compared to the chameleon that they normally are. Or in this game, they're chameleons. They weren't chameleons in any of the old games. You know what I mean? Electric Lizalfos, very silly shot there. Again, okay, these all have the tails and the eyes, horns in the same position, but that one switches it up again. Electric Lizalfos. These quick-witted, lizard-like monsters can be found all over Hyrule. They can emit strong electrical currents from their bodies, so don't get too close. Their horns are brimming with electricity, which will discharge an arc to nearby areas if struck by an arrow. They live in desert climates. Their horns are brimming with electricity. Man, my tongue is completely tied with that. But yeah, I love that their horn is literally just a lightning bolt. I've pissed on some of like the super like custom shaped obvious jokey horns, but like the lightning bolt is funny for the horn, especially because it's not like a perfect lightning bolt. It still looks natural. But yeah, their horns were always like a draw to the original Electric Lizalfos because that's how you got them damaged in the first game. And so it's kind of cool that it glows a little bit more here, I think. It's a little bit more obvious of a target, I guess. But yeah, I didn't use these as much as the fire and ice horns because I just had less of them, but I think they're probably better for a fused material. Although I will say, one of the most, maybe not the most, but one of the most annoying ingredients to grind out in this game to get for fully upgrading is the electric tails. I'm not the only one that thinks it. I thought it in Breath of the Wild. I saw a couple of other people say it in Breath of the Wild, and I saw a lot of people saying it in comment sections for Tears of the Kingdom. It is annoying how low the drop rates of Lizzletails in general are, but combine them with how rare electric Lizzles are and how hard they are to kill compared to the other Lizzle types, and it's just a fucking pain getting all of these tails. I do not regret save scumming this at all. I think I had to in order to make any damn progress. Also, I'm going to comment on this now. Interesting that their eye colors are different. The green eyes I really like on the fire Lizzles. Red eyes on the eyes or whatever. Purple eyes on the yellow or whatever. But the green eyes on the red is very cool, actually. Silver Lizalfos. These Lizalfos have been influenced by the Demon King's fiendish magic to become the mighty Lizalfos. They're called silver due to their unique coloring and also to denote their rarity. Their horns, turned ominous by the Demon King's influence, can cut anything with the slightest touch. Interesting that it didn't call out the silver bokoblins as being rare, which I agree with. They're very common, but still, it feels like these guys aren't like super, super rare for being called silver. But yeah, I think this guy's horn is badass. They're annoying to fight. It was fighting these guys that made me realize, oh yeah, maybe Lizzles are harder than Moblins. It's just as like an arrow guy, I never really had to deal with it that much. Moblins felt harder because they had a weird hitbox. But yeah, the health pool and damage output of a silver Lizalfos was definitely keeping me on edge a lot more than the silver Moblins ever did. So like, okay, fair enough, game. Maybe they are harder. But I do like the big red demonic sickle for the horn. I'm just not noticing the split in the back of it where it splits into two backwards pointing horns. That's also kind of cool. Although again, just occurring to me now, well, it occurred to me when I switched to this page, but occurring to me now as in today. It would be kind of cool, again, if the purple markings were red to reflect gloom instead. The red of the markings would go well with the red of the horns. Again, shame they didn't do that, but okay. Horriblin! After the little monkey moblin, my friend, my dude, my man. After the upheaval, these monsters began appearing in Hyrule's cave systems. They have sturdy horns that are perfect for crushing rocks, and strong muscles that allow them to traverse cave walls and ceilings as easily as if they were walking on the ground. They often hang from ceilings. Waiting for prey. I love the little like pig nose hammer, sort of like actually, because I noticed the hammer like shape on the front of their horn. I'm just not noticing it's almost pickaxe like in the back. So it does look a lot like something that you would use for mining. You use the sharp end to like pick into something, then the flat end to like hammer it down and crush it. So that's kind of cool. Their claws are really weird though. Never paid attention to that because I didn't need them for suit upgrades or anything, or I had enough anyway. Even if I did, I like their like feathery orange mane. It's very cool. I actually wonder if these guys were in the first game, what their horns would have looked like. Because I'm pretty sure these are new for Tears of the Kingdom. These are like an entirely new monster. So it's kind of a shame we never get to see them in the Breath of the Wild art style, if you will, with their horns. But you could just use these ones' horns too, and not many people would care. Blue Horriblin! After the upheaval, these monsters began appearing in Hyrule's cave systems. Compared to the red variety, they have more stamina and more developed limbs, enabling them to hurl large rocks with ease. It does call them out as red, the red variety, the red Horriblins, which is kind of nice. Because that's one of the things, I always call them red Bokos. A lot of people call them red Bokos, but technically they're just Bokos. But like, since the red is the default stage so often, most people use red to denote stage 1. Here you've got a great creature with orange hair, and it's still considered red by the game. Which again, orange is technically red, so not like a weird thing, but still interesting. I didn't encounter blue Horriblins that much compared to the other types. It feels like they were the rarest ones, despite how like vivid and bright they would stand out. And also with their horns, kind of the trend with most of the Horriblin horns is they're all just kind of shaped like hammers, just like bigger. At least I think. Yeah, they're basically all just bigger and spikier versions of each other. This one has most of the spikes in the front. I think it's probably my least favorite of the Horriblin horns. Even though it does more damage, it just doesn't look as nice in my opinion. Black Horriblin. That's a good shot. After the upheaval, these monsters began appearing in Hyrule's cave systems. Because of the inordinate amount of time they spend moving along the cave walls and ceilings, they developed great strength in their mighty arms. This variety poses a huge threat. This variety poses a huge threat to even the most experienced adventurers. I do like this guy's horn more than the other two, though. I think again the black horns are actually maybe I don't like it as much as the red one. I like the flat yellow end of it. And I like how like big it is compared to the other two, but the spikes around the edges don't super do it for me. I think I might like because I like the almost kind of like almost tryptophobia bone-ish sort of hole-ish texture in the front of this guy's horn. And the big flat like bit on this horn is kind of missing that like vibe of like texture. But yeah, Silver Horriblin, the mightiest of the cave masters. Cave masters, not cave monsters, cave masters. That's an interesting like subtitle for them. The mightiest of the cave masters. Not a master hand though. Those aren't in this game. Actually, the glue hands, they are in this game. The purple markings on their bodies are due to the overwhelming magic power of the Demon King. Their tough bodies and horns have been strengthened beyond the levels seen in their lesser relatives, making these monsters more dangerous than others of their ilk. I have to say, I do love their horns. The big, swoopy, purplish red horn just jutting out in front of them. Also, the vein colors of purple on them is very pretty, too. But yeah, or not pretty, badass, I guess is a better word. But yeah, I love like the swaying evil nature. It looks like someone just slapped a slab of malice on its head. I will say it's weird that it's still considered a pounder. This still counts as a hammering and crushing weapon, even though it's very clearly pointed. That's just game logic. It is thick in the bottom, so I guess it would work if you hit like it with like the end or the side of it would still work as a hammer. I just feel like that big thin spike in the front would get in the way of it pounding things. But yeah, one of the horn fuses I used the most in the game, just because we had so many from doing all the caves. Wait, do they have pants? They do. I think they're Horriblins. I don't know if that's just a different color, like hair or feather pattern around their legs, but I think the Horriblins actually have pants. I mean, I guess the Bokoblins have like loincloths and shit. All of the civilized monsters have some sort of clothing. For the Lizzles, yeah, the Lizzles don't have pants, but they have armor. So I guess it makes sense that they have pants. It just felt kind of like doofy noticing that just now. But like, Nice black shorts, buddy. Okay. And they aren't called red mane Lynels. They are just Lynels. Interesting. I always call them red mane Lynels, but I guess they're not. Again, the base types are usually not referred to with color. But Lynel. These fearsome monsters have lived in Hyrule since ancient times. They possess intense intelligence and resilience, as well as a piercing horn, making them among the most dangerous monsters in the land. Among the most dangerous monsters in all the land. This is compounded by their natural resistance to all elements. Only challenge a Lynel if you are very well prepared. I've never used like dodging and flurry rushing to beat them. I've always like ridden on their backs to beat them because they have so much health and it uses up so much durability. So having free hits is like really nice. But like most of the people I've seen play this game do dodge and do the flurry rushes on them, which I guess is just because I don't engage with the dodge lock-on combat that much in these two games. I guess is also like a part of it. But like, yeah, I've just never gotten used to flurry rushing them. It was a shame. 10 arrows is what it drops, apparently. I don't know if that means it drops several bundles of 10 arrows or if it always drops 10 arrows. I think it's several bundles of 10 arrows is what that means. Because, of course, it doesn't give you a count for Lynel hooves. I think that means it drops bundles of 10 arrows, which is nice. The Lynels having two different horns is a very interesting idea. They have a saber horn, which I'm pretty sure is for axe/sword. Probably axe, actually, looking at it now. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be axe, but maybe it's a sword. And then the mace horn, which despite looking like an antler, counts as like a crushing weapon for rocks and shit. At least I'm pretty sure it does. And so it's kind of cool that you get like a choice of two different weapon types after killing them. Although the sabers usually do more damage, so that's always like the better choice. And it makes this funky. Again, I don't like asymmetry, but I think it kind of works with the Lynels. It makes them feel more monstrous in a way, and more intimidating in a way. But yeah, with this one, basic horn, the saber. Yeah, it's okay. It's just a blade. I like the copper color to it. I think it's the best bit. The copper color is very nice. It goes well with the red mane. Mace horn, probably one of the more boring mace horns of the three. Just the three spikes is a little bit weird, but whatever. Blue mane Lynel. These fearsome monsters have lived in Hyrule since ancient times. Compared to the standard Lynel, those with blue manes are much tougher, with much sharper horns. Facing off against a Lynel is ill-advised, but if you must, be sure you are very well prepared. Basic can't even drop guts, which I kind of guessed because that's the case with most of them. But yeah, their saber horn, again, kind of basic. I think the silver, I like the shaping better. The funky, like, two axe heads. I like the shaping of the saber horn better than the red Lynel horn, but I think the copper coloring is cooler. Their mace horn, I like that it curves in a bit. The spikes, it almost looks like a hand. But the spikes don't all curve in at the same angle. They kind of jet out at fucking angles. So I think I actually prefer the regular horns over the blue horns in this instance. Yeah, it's always 10 arrows. Okay. White-maned Lynel. These hooved monsters are said to have lived all over Hyrule since ancient times and are known to be especially dangerous. They're extremely intelligent and resilient and bear very powerful horns. There's very little eyewitness information because few who encounter them return alive. And I will say, the white-maned Lynel probably has the worst horns of all of them. Looking at it now, I do kind of like the multiple like serrated edges and gold along the saber horn. That is pretty cool. But I feel like putting the two horns side by side, they're the hardest to tell apart. The saber and mace horn blend in together for the white Lynels. And also their mace horn just looks a little bit too... Its colors are too similar to the silver mace horn, and its shaping is too similar to the blue mace horn. It just doesn't feel like a great transition between the two. It's kind of basic. Saber horn is still better than the mace horn here by a long shot, appearance-wise, but like together as a collective thing, it makes it have the most boring set of Lynel horns. However, credit where credit is due. When I was playing Breath of the Wild and this game, I like to mark down every time I beat a mini boss to keep track of how many I killed. Not that it really matters that much, but I try to do that. I would always like mix up whether I killed a white or silver Lynel in the original game. I'm pretty sure with like white mane, they're black with white markings, and then with silver mane, they're white with purple markings. And that's how you're supposed to tell the difference. But I would always confuse the two. And so now that they have different horns, you can actually tell them apart way, way easier, even from a distance. And so that was a major help for me maintaining my little personal checklist. Silver Lynel. Silver Lynels are not to be trifled with. The Demon King's fiendish magic has made them the strongest of the Lynel species, beyond even the deadly white mane variety. Their powerful horns can slice through almost anything. Think of their purple stripes as a warning to keep away. Okay, we'll start with the mace horn this time, actually. It's actually interesting that Blue Maned has so long it has to scroll, but the others don't have to scroll. Oh, no, they do have to scroll. Never mind. These ones don't. These ones do. Okay, so it's Silver Lionel, not Silver Maned Lionel, which is interesting in its own right. But the horn, the mace horn, still don't like it that much. Not a fan of like any of the mace horns, but I think like the sort of like tree branching sticking out sort of effect it's got. It's almost more antlerish than the others, less like spiky than the others. It does make it stand out compared to the others. It's more different than the other mace horns are from each other. The silver saber horn, though, love it. Not only is it like the best fused material in the entire game, it's got like the highest damage of like anything, but like I just love the look of it. This big silver katana with golden writing all along it. It looks pretty fucking cool. Although that brings me to my caveat that I brought up before. My favorite Lizzle horn is the blue Lizzle horn. My favorite Lionel horn is the silver Lionel horn. And those are like two of my three favorite horns. I still like the black Bokoblin so much. Two of my three favorite horns. And I thought about this a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago. And I was like, oh man, when I go through the compendium, I'm going to have to bring this up. I might just be a fucking weeb. I might just be a massive weeb. The fact that both of my, like two of my like favorite horns in this game are both the katana ones. And the only two katana ones. That's a shame. But it sticks out so far. It stands out so far. It makes them look cool. It gives them like a neat silhouette. But yeah. Soldier Construct. A standard issue combat construct made by the Zonai with ancient techniques in mind. Weird that you can take a picture of the Steward constructs, but I guess they're NPCs, not like creatures or monsters. Made with ancient techniques and magic. It faithfully obeys commands and tries to root out any being it deems as to be an enemy. The decoration on its head is sharp and cuts like a blade. Actually, it'd be kind of cool if you wore the Zonai armor. If the constructs would not attack you, that'd be interesting because then they know you were like a part of the Zonai race technically. But whatever. Their horns is like a basic like switchblade. Actually, just saying that it reminds me of the "Are we gonna have a problem?" meme. I wonder if that inspired it at all. But no, it's just like a basic little knife, little stabby shank guy. But that makes sense. It's like the first horn you're gonna get, and you're probably gonna spend most of them in the gumball machines anyway. Soldier Construct 2. A mid-tier combat construct made by the Zonai with ancient techniques and magic. It faithfully obeys commands and tries to root out any being it deems to be an enemy. The heavy decoration on its head can be swung like an axe in slash directions. And I gotta say, I do love this one's horn. Like I say, it's like an axe, but it's like square. It's a box axe, which is very cool. And I love the little like notch in between like the base and the actual head of the axe, which lots of axes have that. But being so tall and so square, it stands out a lot here, and I really like that. Soldier Construct 3, an upper-tier combat construct made with the Zonai with ancient techniques and magic. It faithfully obeys commands and tries to root out any being it deems to be an enemy. The decoration on its head, designed to intimidate foes, because a powerful weapon when swung around. And, like, it also has, like, the, like, headdress of, like, extra quote-unquote horns flanking this horn, which adds to the cool factor of the Construct 3s. But, yeah, this big sort of, like, buzzsaw kind of thing, saying it out loud, kind of reminds me of the ancient buzzsaw from Breath of the Wild. I wonder if that was intentional. But yeah, the sort of like saw-like shape to it is very nice. I actually don't know what these all count as. I don't know if these count as separate types of horned attacks, if they're all swords. But if this made your sword, it wouldn't. It wouldn't count as a two-handed. But never mind. That only affects the base material. That's all that makes that work. Never mind. Ignore I said anything. But it would be cool if it could somehow make your weapon be two-handed to function like the ancient blade saw. But yeah, it's not actually a blade saw. There's no points for rotation there. It's just a little spice sticking off the edge, but whatever. Soldier Construct 4. A sophisticated variant of the combat construct made by the Zonai with ancient techniques and magic. Unlike the lower-ranked soldier constructs, its body sports a striking golden color. Thanks for bringing that up, Compendium. Comes equipped with an excellent attack power and endurance, not to mention a majestic decoration on its head. For the Tier 4 ones, they're more gold than green than the other ones, which I think helps them stand out like massively. But I also think their horns might be slightly overkill. I was just talking about the buzzsaw. I'm pretty sure this one actually does spin, which is cool. And I like the little like tassel bits sticking out the edge. I just noticed those. But it is a very over-top thing. Just this long like sword handle sticking up, then a spinning saw blade with like an eye in the center. It's a little bit ridiculous, gonna be honest. A little bit too over the top for my tastes. Captain Construct 1, an elite soldier construct, hence its captain title, made by the Zonai with advanced techniques and magic. As a standard rank member of the captain class, its combat functions are more sophisticated than those soldier constructs. It can use fuse to enhance its weapons, which I think is very cool. I didn't fight the constructs much in this game because again I don't engage with combat in these games that all that much. But every time I did find one of these guys, it was kind of cool seeing what they would pick from their environment to like level themselves up. It's a very nice use of game mechanics to have like the enemies have the same powers as you. Its horn's kind of cool too. A bit basic, but I like that it's kind of like a ritualistic like sacrifice dagger having like the wavy edges. That's nice. Captain Construct 2, an elite soldier construct, hence its captain title, made by the Zonai with advanced techniques and magic. Compared to the standard captain constructs, it has some upgrades, including enhanced endurance and more powerful weapons. I will say the extra sets of eyes are cool. Its horn, though, the sort of splayed out axe kind of thing, whatever. I think it blends in with its head too much at the base. I think it's actually my least favorite of any of the construct horns, even than any of the soldiers. It's not a fan. I was about to say that's not a good shot, but it's from above and behind, so I guess that would explain it. An elite soldier construct, hence the captain title, made by the Zonai with advanced techniques and magic. A powerful captain construct, it has high durability and extremely advanced combat patterns, equipped with a variety of sword techniques. The horn kind of like splays out at the top with like a little eye symbol in the middle, and that is kind of cool. But honestly, you know what? I like it better than the 2 horn. I think I still like the 1 horn better than this guy, though. Again, it's a little bit too over the top for my taste. But saying that, Captain Construct 4, an elite soldier construct, hence its captain title, made by the Zonai with advanced techniques and magic. Stands above all of its peers. It's signified by its golden body, its endurance and sheer combat agility. In endurance and sheer combat ability, it exceeds all their captain constructs, making it the mightiest of them all. And it can actually drop the large Zonai charge, which 3s can too, which is nice. That's how I got a decent amount of them. Or not all of them. It was most of the fluxes I got them from, but it can drop them. Its horn, though, I do like this guy's horn. Maybe Soldier 2 and 3 I might like better, but Captain 4, it is definitely up there. It's a really good horn. I like the golden prong of like force. It almost looks like a dowsing rod kind of appearance. Very nice. And the gold doesn't feel as ridiculous and over the top with the Soldier Constructs 4, which is nice too. I also appreciate how, like, for filling out the suit reasons, a lot of the times if there was ever like a camp that had like 2 captain constructs, one of them would have made the same, and the other one would level up all the max 4, which is kind of cool. They said that there's like a really tough and strong captain, and like their little like lieutenant underneath them, lightning stone, which I appreciate. Training construct. I forgot this was even in the compendium. Weird that it's at the end, because it's basically just a captain construct without the horn. Captain Construct 1 without the horn. The Zonai employed advanced technology and magic to create this instructional construct. Its color indicates that it is equipped with special combat training functions. It is even capable of using fuse to modify and strengthen its weapons. And the energy inside is still green, but now it's like silverish instead of like green and gold for the armor, which, does help it stand out compared to the others. Not a great shot of it though, and I don't think these guys respawn, and so it would be impossible for me to get a better camera angle on it. Oh well. Flux Construct 1. A construct composed of interconnected blocks made by the Zonai with advanced techniques and magic. It can rearrange the blocks to change its shape at will. To provide sufficient energy to power its gigantic form, this construct contains a massive store of Zonai charge, which actually drops a lot of charges and devices. Interesting that it doesn't point out the devices here, but it can drop Zonai devices, and I guess it's now occurring to me, can the cores actually fit inside of those boxes? The number of eyes, I think, does change between the different stages of Flux Construct, but I can't remember if that does have any maybe that is it. That eye in the box, that might be the pounder weapon that you get off of them, the spinning spiral of spikes. But yeah, since you can't actually pick up that spinning spiral of spikes, it's not considered a recoverable material, which is a shame. I think it would be cool if the boss loot was included here. So it's a bummer that it's not. But oh well. I had no horn to comment on. Flux Construct 2. See, it does have 2 eyes. Yeah, so that is the core. Is what makes up their eyes in their head. That's pretty neat. Of course, it drops from the box anyway, so that should have been obvious. I don't know why I'm just not figuring that out now. But this one can drop large charges too. I wasn't sure if they could or not. A construct composed of interconnected blocks, made by the Zonai with advanced techniques and magic. This model has been upgraded to process complex commands and assume modified shapes. To provide sufficient energy to power its gigantic form, this construct contains a massive Zonai stores. This construct contains a massive store of Zonai charge. It can change shape at will. Okay. I was about to say, like, complex commands assume modified shapes. I can't remember if the ones can ever do the platform loop or not. I'm not sure if they can. I know they can do the cube. This can do the cube and the platform, so maybe that's what that's supposed to mean. Advanced shapes is the platform form, but maybe not. I don't know. I actually think that this guy's, like, pounder spinny thing is the worst, because when it's just one, it's kind of cool. When it's three, they're all spinning around each other a bit, and so that's kind of cool. When it's just two, it looks awkward. You know, just having, like, the two spinning. It looks a little bit weird. Where's, like, the origin point that they're spinning from? It doesn't make much sense. Flux Construct 3. Oh, big battery. Huh. It doesn't call out any of the other potential, like, device drops, but this one specifically points out big battery, which makes you think that the others must not be able to drop it. Maybe even the gumball machines can't drop big battery, which makes these guys... And the big battery, it was, like, 30 crystallized charges compared to 3. Ridiculously expensive compared to the other ones. So, like, if your only way to get it naturally is from chests and these guys, fair enough. That makes sense, actually. A construct composed of interconnected blocks made by the Zonai with advanced techniques and magic. This model has increased defenses to protect its valuable core. Can change shape in order to block attacks. To provide sufficient energy to power its gigantic form, this construct contains a massive store of Zonai charge. I will say, though, the constantly warping core, until I learned that you could use Ultra Hand on them, that very much annoyed me, and I thought they were, like, the worst, like, enemy designer concept in the game. But now that I know they can just grab their parts, it is decently fun to fight. That does make them a lot, like, it makes them a lot easier, but it does make the fight, like, more enjoyable in the long run, which I appreciate. Yiga Foot Soldier. They can only drop up to purple, which makes sense. No 100s or 300s. Bananas and Sunderlands. I don't remember if they drop Sunderlands on the surface or not, but whatever. The lowest ranked members of the Yiga clan. They've been dispatched all across Hyrule with a single task: seek out and kill Princess Zelda and Link. That's technically 2 tasks. Seek out Princess Zelda. Seek out. I meant that as Zelda and Link, but now that I think about it, seek out Zelda, kill Zelda, seek out Link, kill Link. That's 4 tasks. That's not a single task. You're lying, game. They're a crafty bunch, sometimes disguising themselves as simple travelers or villagers to get the jump on you. Be wary of suspicious people you encounter. They're very agile, and their weapons of choice are bows and swords. Gotta say, I don't know what they changed in the background. Way less annoying in this game. They constantly attacked you in the original, and it was annoying as shit, but every time they attacked me in this game, well, I mean, like, as in, like, they spawned while I was on the road and started chasing me in this game, it was a legitimate surprise, and it wasn't annoying. So, that's cool. Appreciate that. There was also some places, like that Molduga fight, where I didn't expect them to show up, but they did, which is interesting. Yiga Blade Master, same drops. These are the elite soldiers of the Yiga clan, equipped with blades of wind-cleaving power. They are extremely agile despite their bulky build. At this Yiga clan rank, they have mastered a technique that allows them to manipulate the very earth. By striking the ground, they can raise stone pillars and unleash a blast of air. Now I'm looking forward to when they get, when the Tears of the Kingdom randomizer mods are finished, because it's going to be cool seeing people randomly get the Earthwave technique from, like, a random-ass chest. That's going to be cool. Master Koga, no recoverable materials. Got a mid-ball falling on him, which is actually kind of funny. I must have forgotten to take his picture at the start of the fight. Common locations unknown. Fair enough, he has a few different spawns, but depths would have been fine for any of these guys. Gerudo Desert and Depths would have made sense for me. The leader of the Yiga clan, who worshipped the Demon King. His larger-than-life presence makes him popular and deeply respected. After the upheaval, Koga latched onto Zonai devices as a way to increase his power. He had his underlings use the technology to make a variety of bizarre and deadly contraptions to kill you with. Just straight up. He makes contraptions to kill you with. just straight up. That's kind of funny. Gotta say, 2 things. First off, after the upheaval, Koga latched onto Zonai devices. He entered the depths way before any of us. He should have always had access to the Zonai devices over the last 5 or 6 years. That's what I thought that the story was going for. That the Yiga were secretly rebuilding in the depths, and the upheaval was their chance to come back. But no, he only started using them after the upheaval. What was he doing down there that whole time? That's a little ridiculous. But also, One that is a little bit weird about this game, and of course, this is video game logic. It always is video game logic. How are there so many fucking Yiga? Whereas, like, supposedly they're an offshoot of the Sheikah tribe, and they're like just like a band of vagabonds with like barely any funds, just like a crazy ass cult. And yet, like, you count up all of the like Yiga camps around the depths, and the fact that all the Yiga are supposed to be there simultaneously, that's like at least like 60 Yiga. That's more than like the population of any town in this game. Most towns have like 20 people max. How are there so many Yiga? And they're all Hylians too, which I guess makes sense. There's more Hylians than the other races, but still, that's a little wacky. How they got like such like a massive recruitment effort. Stone Pebblet, because in the first game you could write it off as like, oh, the only place there's consistent spawns of Yiga are like a handful of travelers on the road, and then a hideout. So it was like you could believably say, oh, there's like 10 Yiga, and they're like swapping places with each other all the time to fight you. But no, they're all in the depths simultaneously at different posts where they're permanently at simultaneously. And there's just like 60 plus of them. Stone Pebblet. Oh, little guy. Very young stone Talos. Their bodies toughen as they mature, becoming as tough as boulders by adulthood. As a child, however, their bodies are light enough to be lifted and fragile enough to break when thrown. And they explode when you pick them up. Didn't know that until Tears of the Kingdom. But it's kind of funny. Igneo Pebblet. They drop rubies now instead of opals. A very young Igneo Talos. Their bodies toughen as they mature and convert fully into lava by adulthood. As a child, however, they're still covered in fire. Their bodies are As a child, however, while still covered in fire, their bodies are fragile and light enough to be blown away by a bomb's blast. Greater Hyrule. Yeah, that means basically all of Hyrule. Elden, Greedo, and Hebra. Frost Pebblet, they drop sapphires instead of rubies. A very young Frost Talos. Their bodies toughen and frost over as they mature, becoming entirely made of ice by adulthood. As a child, however, their bodies are awfully fragile and are light enough to be blown away by a bomb's blast. Stone Talos, can't pick that up because it'd freeze you. Yeah, it doesn't throw in made of ice as like after the however this time. Just weird to like call them up. It's Stone Talos, Griddle Highlands Depths. It's interesting that it calls that out as a place you find them. I thought there was only like one or two of them there. That feels like a bug. I don't think you should say that. This enormous monster is naturally camouflaged as a rock formation. Neither sword nor arrow can pierce its stony form, but a cunning adventurer knows to scale its body and attack the ore sprouting from its peak. Lives only in the meadows and rocky areas, but also lives not only in meadows and rocky areas, but also plains. To Bantha, fair enough, but Gerudo Highland Depths, there's not that many. But yeah, I actually think the first time I actually fought a Talos, I think it was in the Trial of the Sword. The first time I tried it, and it was kind of cool figuring out, oh, the rock on the top is a weak point. That's neat. And then I think in the overworld, the first one I thought was an Igneo, which was a bit like ridiculous to take that on as my first one. And then I stopped using arrows and started using hammers like I was supposed to. Stone Talos Luminous apparently can drop Topaz, which still shocks me. Tabath Frontier, Lunaru makes sense. This enormous monster is naturally camouflaged as a rock formation. Neither sword nor arrow can pierce its stony form, but a cunning adventurer knows to scale its body and attack the ore sprouting from its peak. Stronger than your average stone Talos, and unlike that creature, its ore deposit consists mostly of luminous stone. Rare can drop basically any gem. Yeah, any gem except luminous. Gerudo Highlands and Farron, that one's fair enough. There were a lot. Actually, no. There's like one. No, there's two in Farron. There's one in the Farron grasslands. There's one on the beach under Farron. This enormous monster is naturally camouflaged as a rock formation. Neither sword nor arrow can pierce its stony form, but a cunning adventurer knows to scale its body and attack the ore sprouting from its peak. Unlike your average stone Talos, this type's ore deposit contains a large amount of precious ore, making it a rare find. Battle Talos, Hyrule Field in the Tabantha Frontier Depths. Again, there's only like one in the Tabantha Frontier Depths. Maybe there's more. Maybe I'm misremembering. Monsters have built structures onto this Talos to create what might be called a moving fort. Its body is reinforced with wooden planks to keep outweigh enemies. It can't be easily climbed, but it can be ascended, which is very cool. Again, saw these in the trailer alongside the unicorn bokoblins, and I was like, oh, that's fucking badass. I can't wait to encounter that in game. Actually, something just occurred to me though. Because there would be no reason to have this in the code, but it would be cool to test. If you could somehow get a Battle Talos to like the depths under Elden to an area that's flaming hot, would the wood catch fire and destroy the platforms? I don't think it would, because there's no reason for the devs to code that in. But it would have been would be neat to experience. But the fact that Lionels don't die when they drop in lava makes you think that's probably not a thing. Igniotalos. Drop rubies and opals. It should be rubies and amber, in my opinion. This enormous monster is naturally camouflaged as molten rock. The sword, Elden and Elden Depths, neither sword nor arrow can pierce its fiery form. Merely touching its magma-hot body can burn you pretty badly, but you may be able to scale it if you can use something to chill its flames. Frost-Talos, Sapphire, and Opal makes sense in my book. Griddled Hepra. This enormous monster is naturally camouflaged as a frozen rock formation. Neither sword nor arrow can pierce its frigid form. Merely touching its frosty body can leave you with severe frostbite, but you may be able to scale it if you use something to thaw its icy exterior. Lives in cold, snowy regions. Hinox, they drop fruit. Oh, actually, the basic Hinox can drop guts. I didn't know that. I thought they couldn't. I only farmed like blue and black in Breath of the Wild, I'm pretty sure. These giant one-eyed monsters live mostly in the woods and have large, thick horns. Hinox are known for tearing entire trees from the ground, and using them as weapons. Occasionally, they fall asleep on roads, presenting travelers roadblocks, presenting terrifying roadblocks for travelers. A deft hand can steal weapons from the necklaces they wear. I've never tried to sneak up on one sleeping. You can stand on their hand and they'll put you on their belly, and it's very easy to steal their shit up there. But yeah, its horn, it's kind of just looks like a bunch of it kind of looks like a wooden stump that's been wrapped with cloth to reinforce it because it's splitting apart. It has a bunch of spikes jutted through it, which is kind of an interesting vibe. I do like their headbutt attack animation though. It's pretty freaky because they're so big. Just farted. Blue Hinox. These giant one-eyed monsters live mostly in the woods, have giant horns, and possess ferocity similar to that of their red brethren. They're also known for tearing entire trees from the ground and using them as weapons. They're stronger, though, and wear greaves that can be burnt away to expose their feet. A deft hand can steal weapons from the necklaces they wear. I like their horns better than the red ones. I like that it's like a bunch of chains, essentially, just wrapped around something. I'm not entirely sure what it's wrapped around, if there was skulls or something in there, but the ball of chains and weapons and swords and shit. Very cool. I like it. It looks like a bit of a trophy it's wearing on its head. Black Hinox. These giant one-eyed monsters live mostly in the woods and have extremely hard horns. A keen awareness for your surroundings is paramount when facing one. As Hinox are known for tearing entire trees from the ground and using them as weapons. Black Hinox wear metal greaves that are too hard to break. A deft hand can steal weapons off the necklaces they wear. These guys drop fish, and these guys drop roasted meat because the meat sells for more and heals more mostly. These guys' horns, I'm not sure if I like them more than the blue or not. I think I like them less than the blue horns. But it's like a mallet hammer sort of thing, like a double-ended mallet hammer, big Harley Quinn looking ass kind of thing. Still kind of cool, but it's not as cool as the ball of chains IMO. Stallnox. These are another one of the cool. I forgot about this one. This is my top 4 favorite horns. Now, very nice. I love their horns. East Nucletta and the Central Hyrule Depths. What? East Nucletta, fair enough. I think they were a decent amount in Nucletta. But Central Hyrule Depths, all of the Hinoxes in Central Hyrule Depths were regular red Hinoxes. Most of the Stallnoxes were around Elden. That's weird. The most encountered regions, common locations, is just borked in this game to all hell. The remains of a Hinox, a giant monster with only one eye. The skeletal beast appears in the dark and can throw its own ribs. Appears in the dark and can throw its own rib bones at enemies. Furthermore, even if it appears defeated, it will keep coming back for more, as long as its eye is still intact. And I do kind of like that this guy's got a special horn. Well, first off, love the horn. Just a spike with a bunch of Bogo skulls stuck at the end that are still wriggling and screaming in pain and shit. Although weird that they can't use that to keep the stall Bogos alive, but that would be hard to code from a game design perspective, so fair enough. But I love their horns, and it's also kind of cool that they do drop a unique horn. Because for the other stall mobs, they are debatably easier to kill than the red enemies. So giving them the red horns makes sense. The Stallnox, though, it has the same amount of health as the Black Hinox, and you have to attack its eye to land the killing blow, meaning that it is just barely harder to kill than a Black Hinox. And so, it's got a different horn. I might actually check. 29, 27. Yeah, it even has more fuse attack power, which is very cool. That they bothered to do something special for that. I very much approve of that and enjoy that and love that. Okay, Molduga, my favorite mini boss, mainly because it's not overdone like the others. This massive monster swims beneath the desert sand. It spends most of its time submerged, but if it senses sound, it will reach the surface and feast on whatever it can grab. Running around carelessly can be dangerous if you suspect there may be one in the area. Um, um, the Molduga Jaw is definitely an interesting drop for an attack weapon because it doesn't super look like any part of its actual jaw. I can kind of recognize, you look in the middle there, that one fang in the middle looks a lot like the one fang in the middle of the weapon, but it still doesn't feel like a one-to-one match to me. But love the Molduga. I actually learned recently, I say recently, this was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point, but I hadn't a point to talk about it. Apparently Molduga is supposed to be a combination of, Moldworm, the classic Zelda enemy, which there's a lot of other characters like Mulgara and Colgara, but Moldworm and Beluga. They're actually based on whales. And I think I did spot it when killing one while farming for resources. They actually have a blowhole on the top spews sand out, which is really cool. I'm gonna have to pay more attention to their surface attack animation, see if you can see any sand blowing out, because that's very awesome. But just love them. World building element, they're cool. Boss fight, they're cool. Great enemy. Flame Gliok. This 3-headed monster first appeared after the upheaval. Fighting it alone is inadvisable, as its 3 heads will attack you all at once. Creates powerful flames within its body. When someone sets foot upon its turf, this beast will engulf the intruder in their surroundings in a fierce blaze. Elden Canyon and Lake Hylia? Elden Canyon. Am I misremembering what Elden Canyon is? Is Elden Canyon? Yeah, okay, I was thinking of Elden's Flank before. Elden Canyon, yeah, there are ones in Elden Canyon. Frost Gliok. Greedo Highlands and Hammer Mountains. This 3-headed monster first appeared after the upheaval. Fighting it alone is inadvisable. Not a great shot of it, actually, but it's the first one I encountered, so whatever. Shut up. As its 3 heads will attack you all at once. Creates blistering cold air within its body. When someone sets foot upon its turf, the beast will freeze the intruder and the surroundings in ice. Thunder Gliok. This 3-headed monster first appeared after the upheaval. Fighting it alone is inadvisable, as its 3 heads will attack you all at once. When someone sets foot upon its turf, the beast will unleash a salvo of lightning strikes, not letting up until the intruder is reduced to a pile of ashes. Now here's the weird thing. For cell values, they're the same order as the compendium. Flame, Frost, Thunder is least expensive to most expensive cell value. And so a Tyrus Frog and 4 Thunder Gliok horns, I think, is the most expensive elixir you can sell in the game. I'm pretty sure. I did sell a few of those to for my suit upgrades. But IMO, it's kind of backwards difficulty wise. Personally, I think that the ice is probably easier to fight for the Thunder. But I did say before that I thought Flame was the hardest Gliok to fight because there's no one outfit or suit that can hard counter its elemental attacks. You need to have Flame Guard and Heat Resistance instead of just having Cold Protection or just having Thunderproof or Lightning Proof. But also, from an actual attack perspective, not being invincible to it, but being hit from it, Fire is probably the least annoying, while Ice and Lightning are super pissing off. And Lightning makes you drop your weapons, which makes the fight harder, so I guess it is the most annoying to get hit by. But I don't think it's the hardest to kill, which makes me think that the price of the horns probably should have been the same for all of them. But then you get to the King Gliok, who has a head for each. This 3-headed monster with lightning, fire, and ice attributes first appeared after the upheaval. Fighting it alone is inadvisable, as it can launch coordinated elemental attacks with staggering brutality. You must be well prepared to survive an entanglement. You must be well prepared to survive an entanglement with this beast. And this occurred to me with the lightning description, but I'm going to bring it up now. All of them say fighting it alone is inadvisable, but your sages don't really ever land a hit on these guys. They do help, sure, yeah, but they don't land that many hits. Tulin is a decent help, but the rest are a bit whatever. So you're not really fighting it with that much help anyway, especially if you're using the rocket bow method like I did. But yeah, first encountering this guy in the depths was fucking terrifying. Closest I'd ever been to a Gliok, and scared the hell out of me. Little frogs. Oh, I always forget you're in the game. Little frogs. Very young frogs. Makes up for its diminutive size with powerful legs and by attacking in large numbers. And it does say very young, so it is the baby. Francs can drop the fangs, guts, and the fingernails. A large monster that dwells in the depths. Despite its unwieldy body, it has incredibly powerful legs that it can use to leap from afar to capture prey. Its large mouth allows for it to swallow whatever it hungers for in one gulp. Do you have to say? Frog's Fang, basic Frog's Fang, kind of boring. I like the sort of bony texture on one end. I think that's supposed to be where it meets the body. But the actual fang bit that sticks out with little spikes on the edge, it's weird that it's facing downward and away from the camera, if that's supposed to be the attacking end. But I guess it is for a club, so maybe that's not the attacking end. Obsidian Francs. A large monster that dwells in the depths. It has legs even more powerful than those of its green-colored counterpart. Green? I guess! It's black with green spots, I guess. But you're black with red spots. And obsidian I don't usually associate with red, I associate it with black. So what's with your name? Green colored counterpart. And it can leap from afar to capture distant enemies. Its large mouth allows it to swallow whatever it hungers for in one gulp. I have to say that, they both can drop large zonite, actually. That's interesting. The Obsidian Francs Fang might be my favorite Francs Fang. It's got a very, spider mandible kind of vibe to it, and the orange coloration is kind of cool. But I don't super see it, because, their actual mouths look very similar to each other. I'm not sure if their fangs are actually different on the character model or not, because I don't really see how that would fit in its mouth, if that makes any sense. Unless if the root is the entire bottom and not the bit on the left. Because I'm seeing, the bit that's right above the IAN, I assumed that was the bottom of the fang. But maybe everything from IAN through the word Francs, maybe all of that's supposed to be the root of the tooth. In which case, then that does make more sense. Okay. But yeah, terrified me my first encounter with these guys. Blue-white Francs. A large monster that dwells in the depths. Has ore on its back to lure enemies. Can shake off enemies who climb atop it and then snatch them in midair. Its large mouth allows it to swallow whatever it hungers for in one gulp. And its blue is not, super obvious. It does have some blue, but, the white is more noticeable. I find it weird that it's not, green Francs, red Francs, and blue-white Francs, then. The naming scheme of these guys is so, weird. I don't really like it. But they're Frog's Fangs. I use them a lot because they're, a decent attack power weapon. But I think that... Oh, no, yeah, it is a different model. It does actually show the fangs on this model. But I think they're kind of doofy. Just the big spiral with the red spikes. I thought they were green spikes, but no. Red spikes jutting off of the edges. It's whatever. Not a big fan of it, especially because I think it's a club and it looks like it should be a spear thing, but the spear is the base weapon, so there's not much you can do with that. Dinral. Interesting that the dragons are considered monsters in this game. I think they were in the original too, because they could attack you technically. But of course, the boars can charge you, and that's just self-defense. The dragons only attack you in self-defense, so they should be creatures, but whatever. And then they're not evil. They're not gaining influence. Why are they monsters? I don't know. A spirit of fire is taking the form of this giant dragon, making its home in the Elden region. It's said to have served the spring of power since ancient times. The flames that coat its body can make the surrounding area blazing hot, but Dinral bears no ill will towards people. Few have seen it in the current age, because only some people can see the dragons. And also the dragons, I thought they had the same name as the original three goddesses, but no, the original three goddesses were Din was one of them. I can't remember the other two are. It's it's the goddess name plus a modifier for the dragon names. So they're not literally the goddesses. And based on the whole backstory we're given in this game, it's presumed by the fan base now that there are Zonai that went through dragonification, which is a whole can of worms. Which makes me wonder, was there a fire sage with the old Zonai? Was there a lightning sage with the old Zonai? I don't know. That's the question. Nidra. A spirit of ice is taking the form of this giant dragon. Making its home in the Lunara region, it's said to have stirred the spring of wisdom since ancient times. The ice that coats its body can make the surrounding area freezing cold, but Nidra bears no ill will towards people. Few have seen it in the current age. It is kind of cool that the dragons, you can ride on them now for one, and also they cancel fall damage when you land on them. Very cool. I do appreciate that. Riding them around is a pretty neat thing to do. And also, Elden Mountains and Tipakala. Elden Mountains. The flank of Elden is called the Elden Mountains now, I guess. East Nakleta and Mount Lunario. Lake Hylia and the Gerudo Canyon. Actually, doesn't it go? Yeah, it is East Nakleta. Lake Hylia and Gerudo Canyon. Yeah. Farosh. The spirit of lightning is taking the form of this giant dragon. Making its home in the Faerun region, it's said to have served the spring of courage since ancient times. The electricity that coats its body can cause lightning storms, but Farosh feels no ill will towards people. Few have seen it in the current age. Actually, you know what? I'm going to throw this out there. Wait, no. Maybe not. Because I was about to say, in this game, Dinral gets very close to the Spring of Power, but doesn't fly straight up over it. Nidra flies like right next to the Spring of Wisdom. Farosh never goes anywhere near the Spring of Wisdom, Spring of Courage in this game. But thinking about it more, in Breath of the Wild, Nidra did circle around the Spring of Wisdom. Farosh, I don't think he went directly above the Spring of Courage, but he was all over Lake Hylia and the Faron Woods, so he was like around and surrounding the Spring of Courage. But now I think about it, I don't think Dinral was ever anywhere near the Spring of Power. I don't think he went into Akala in the original game. He started at Elton's Flank. So that shows what I know. Colgera, we're in the bosses now. And again, doesn't show their drops. Although I wonder if it will show from Muktarok. Colgera in the Wind Temple and the depths. The culprit behind the blizzard that plagued the Heber region. This huge beast harnesses the wind. I guess that would be spoilers if it said Wind Temple and depths. Although I guess it would be spoilers if you found them in the depths too, which I think you can do somehow. Maybe not. The culprit behind the blizzard that plagued the Heber region. This huge beast harnesses wind to produce strong updrafts and lift itself aloft. The jagged layer of ice covering its body serves as a protective shield and allows it to launch frozen spikes at its foes. Still kicking myself for not realizing I could dive through it. I really robbed myself of the experience. Moragia on Death Mountain, an enormous monster dwelling in Death Mountain. Its body is comprised of boiling lava and hard rocks that are infused with gloom. To keep its body held together, this creature draws heat and gloom power from the crater. I wonder whether or not this is bigger than... I think this is bigger than Dark Dragon. I wonder whether Moragia is bigger than Dark Beast. It might hold the record for like one of the biggest Zelda enemies ever because it takes up the whole top of Death Mountain. It is a shame. Or I guess it's hiding it. I guess it's just its heads. It's rocks around it for the cap on Death Mountain, whatever. I think it is a shame that they couldn't find any place to put this guy in the depths. Both it and Sludge Like. I think they could have worked harder to like making them fightable again if they really wanted to. Marbled Goma in the Fire Temple. The culprit behind a marbled rock roast, who produced it and brought it to the Elven region. It uses its rock. He produced it and brought it to the Elven region. That's a weird way to word it. It uses its rock-covered legs to execute devastating attacks. The eyeball in its head may look vulnerable, but good luck reaching it atop this creature's massive body. I wonder exactly how the whole distribution of Marbled Goma really worked. Was like Goma shoving it up Moragia's ass, and then Moragia was vomiting it out onto the people? Is that what was happening? Maybe. I mean, it can't just spawn the boulders right above you, so maybe it doesn't have to have a direct path. Maybe you can just teleport the stones in. Sludge Like, my boy. It's a shame that you can only be fought once. Lenara Great Spring. This sludge-loving like, and this is what I was to point out, it's weird that this guy's not with the other likes. I guess that he is a boss, fair enough. He's a unique encounter boss. But he's also the only unique encounter boss that's basically just a regular enemy. He's just a like. These sludge-loving likes are nightmarishly mobile. They use sludge, and they use that sludge to move around, sometimes creeping into areas that other types of likes tend to avoid. As if that weren't enough, they also spew sludge out of their maws to slow and capture prey. Notice that it says likes. That implies that there is more than one sludge like, which makes it extra weird that it's just nowhere in the depths to encounter. Like, water being used to wash away sludge, that would be useful outside of the quest line if sludge was common in the depths and you had sludge likes to redistribute it. That would have been cool. There's a shame that they didn't do that. Mudrock, my doofy little guy. Oh, is that really the picture that I saved the compendium for you? Did I not get a face-on shot of you? Maybe I didn't. I have it facing the camera in Terrytown because you can turn them around. But interesting, recoverable materials done. Even though it does have actual drops, it drops Oxrock eyes and tentacles. Locations: the Water Temple, the culprit behind the sludge that plagued Zora's domain. Despite its small size, it was able to produce a massive deluge of the substance, polluting the entire region. It can mold sludge into outer shells of various shapes. A technique it uses to both protect itself and attack its foes. It's interesting that it says various shapes. That could be referring to the attacks, but the only actual shape it takes is a shark. Have I just been blind the entire fight? Does it become other creatures? I thought it was just a shark. But yeah, Shiver from Splatoon 3 is in Zelda now. Queen Gibdo! Design-wise, at the very least, best of the bosses. Actual fight-wise, Colgare is better, but design-wise, Gibdo is awesome. Lightning Temple, the ruler of the Gibdos and the culprit behind the sand shroud that plagued the Gerudo region. The Queen Gibdo is an agile beast who built a nest in the desert to spawn her drones and moss. Her tough exoskeleton deflects ordinary weapons. And culprit. Yep, it does use culprit for all of them, which I appreciate. I appreciate that consistency. I love patterns. Seized Construct, Spirit Temple. Weird that the so pixelated with the image. But whatever. The construct that Mineru originally intended to house her spirit. It was changed into this ominous form by the magic power of the Demon King. Originally intended for construction, it is highly durable and able to withstand harsh conditions. Only character in the boss rush, I guess, the multiple Phantom Cans, if you want to be technical, the special version of the fight, but only character in the final boss rush that you can't, fight if you've done its temple. You can only ever fight this guy, once, which is a little bit of a shame, but also I can't think of any good place to put another Seized Construct, so fair enough at that time. Phantom Ganon, Dark Clumps, common locations unknown. A monster created from the very flesh and blood of the Demon King Ganondorf that will follow his bidding without hesitation. Like the Demon King it so resembles, this huge creature is a master of many weapons. It will attack its foes relentlessly and without mercy. Facing it in battle is inadvisable, unless you want a quick ticket to the afterlife. I think it's a shame that the Gloom Hands don't appear in the compendium at all, by the way. Demon King Ganondorf, location unknown. Weird that it says that, because you can only get this picture. Oh no, I guess you could buy it from the compendium. Never mind. I'll save my complaints. An evil man who lived long ago in the era of Hyrule's founding. He was imprisoned beneath Hyrule Castle for ages, but the magic weakened, and his power has been steadily growing since. Now he is revived as a threat beyond the knowledge of any. A master of every known weapon, he will not hesitate to crush any foe who stands in his way, and he just swapped between all three weapon types, which is cool. The Demon King Ganondorf's second form. You could have just called this Ganondorf and called this the Demon King if you really wanted to. But okay. The fearsome form that Demon King Ganondorf attained after unleashing the power of the Secret Stone. The ancient sages were no match for him, and only barely managed to contain his devastating power. The gloom he produces is a corrosive substance so foul it can wither anyone who touches it. Really, it's just now mentioning gloom and the very last monster in the book. But yeah, demise looking ass. Demon Dragon, the form that Ganondorf, the Demon King, obtained after swallowing a secret stone and attaining its true power. No trace of his original form remains. Its overwhelming magical strength could shake the skies. The jet black scales covering it repel any and all attacks, save for those of the one and only Master Sword. Technically, you can hurt the bulbous things with any weapon, and you can't hurt the black scales even with the Master Sword, but okay, game, be cinematic. And of course, the Light Dragon, I guess it's okay that she's after Demon Dragon, but I would have rather she be with the basic three dragons. Common locations, Greater Hyrule. I guess I would have said the sky, but sure, Greater Hyrule. A spirit has taken the form of this giant dragon inhabiting the upper reaches of the skies. It is named for its shining golden mane and gleaming scales. It looks divine as it soars through the sky, giving off a soft glow. Its presence is comforting somehow. I like that I actually managed to get the Master Sword in its head with the picture, that I didn't take it out before taking the picture. That's quite nice. And its presence is comforting somehow. Okay. It is about 11. How much of the compendium do we have left? Because we're only halfway through. Do I want to make this into 2 streams like I did last time? Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, I think I will. I think since I did it last time, it's not going to be that weird if I do it this time. I think we will do 2 streams on the compendium instead of doing it all in one stream. So next time we'll go through materials and actually, how many materials are there? Yeah, we'll go through materials, equipment, and treasure in the next stream. But yeah, we got through all the creature and the monster descriptions now. Those are the ones that I had most of my commentary for. So Next time we will go through the rest of the compendium. We'll finish it. Thanks for tuning in, and bye-bye.